is it moving in?
Oh,
Cherry?
La Croix. First time I had it.
Is it any good?
She's so used to staying at home.
Okay.
She's got all of this COVID crap that everybody
It's okay.
let it go ahead.
I might need your help before this night, so
The dorm move-in experience was
Not right now.
terrible.
My coat. Okay. You just
Okay, I think we're ready to start. Everybody, it's ready.
It was a mess.
Well, congrats, that's awesome.
Who borrowed these glasses?
Use my t-shirt.
Okay, I think everybody's in place, so I'm going to call the regular city council meeting of the city of Colleyville to order for August the 18th, 2020 at 7:30 PM. We first call the roll. Councilmember Nakamura,
Present?
Mayor Pro Tem Lindamood,
Here.
Councilmember Wheat,
Here.
the mayor is here, Councilmember Dodson,
Here.
Councilmember Kelly,
Here.
Councilmember Rigney.
Here.
So the first thing we always do is our invocation, which is going to be given this evening by Pastor Dave Young of Crown of Life, and then we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance, so please stand.
Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight, humbly acknowledging that we are sinful human beings that don't have answers for all the problems that our world is facing. Our world is facing a crisis that we have not found answers for. Our country is divided in many ways. And yet we also come before you with grateful hearts for the tremendous blessings that we enjoy each and every day. And we thank you, Lord, for this wonderful city that we get to live and work in. We thank you, Lord, for a dedicated city staff that is working so hard on so many different projects. We thank you for our first responders, and we ask for your protection and care for them. And tonight, Lord, as our council meets, we pray for your wisdom and your discernment for them as they make decisions that have huge impacts upon our lives. We know, Lord, that those decisions are always difficult and, unfortunately, always meet with some criticism. So we pray that you would give them courage and strength and guide them as they make these decisions. And we pray it all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, let me welcome everyone here, those that are here in the room and those that may be watching on video. I want to thank you for coming, and we like that you're here and participate with us. So in the public hearings, you're welcome to speak on any of those, and I encourage you to do that. We'll not close a public hearing without asking if everyone has spoken that would like to speak. And so thank you. Of course, we're still in our mode of physically distancing the best that we can do this, so that's why we're all separated. I do also want to point out that agenda items 6A and 6B, which have to do with the daycare center application, will be tabled. The applicant has requested that they be tabled, so I know there were several people here last time to speak on it, and if you're here tonight to speak on agenda items 6A or 6B, there will not be an opportunity tonight. It will probably be back at the next meeting, depending on the applicant. And also, we have agenda items 7A and 7B that have to do with Bluebonnet Cemetery. That's been tabled for a number of meetings. We will take those off the table tonight so we can have a discussion about them, and depending on how that goes, we'll take action or retable. It just depends on how that turns out. So with that, we'll move to agenda item number 2, which is there for the purpose of taking action coming out of executive session, which we are always in immediately before coming and opening this meeting. We do not need that agenda item tonight. We have no action to vote on coming out of executive session. So that will take us up to agenda item number 3, which is announcements, proclamations, and presentations. Of course, we always have announcements to do, and I always start, so I'm going to do that. I may take an extra minute or two tonight to talk about this one. And in my weekly videos, I talk about this a lot, but I think it's worth, I don't know how many people hear it, so my theory is you can't say it enough to try to get the information out. So I want to give you an update on the COVID situation and try to give you good information. So Colleyville will remain steady in our terms of our COVID case counts as we have for a while, and we're very blessed that we continue to have 0 deaths in Colleyville. But an interesting thing has happened over the last week or so that I think is very important that I wanted to point out. If you track the data, you can go to the Tarrant County website and they have a dashboard that shows information on Tarrant County, and then it has a place where you can dial down to the individual city so you can see where Colleyville is. On the website this week, Colleyville had the Tarrant County data showed a fewer number of active positive cases than our data showed, which is very interesting, and I'm glad of that. And I've been saying for a while that we have been using a 14-day roll-off of positive COVID cases for a couple of months, and we do that in order to show the true risk impact to community health. And so this means that after 14 days, we move positive cases, because the county always shows cumulative positives, so they continue to add on cases, more and more and more, never go down, it only goes up. But that doesn't mean all those cases are actually active at the moment, because there are recoveries. So we, after 14 days, we move positive cases to no longer contagious category to us, but we've used that and we have referred to that as estimated recoveries. And so we do this because, of course, 14 days is the commonly known medical community's quarantine period after a person tests positive for coronavirus. So what that means, you test positive, you quarantine yourself 14 days, and if you don't have symptoms, you're declared okay to interact with others at that point. The fact that Tarrant County's data is now similar to ours in terms of taking cumulative positive minus recoveries, and those are the active cases. In fact, their data is less. They're more positive than us. Really validates our methodology. And I say that because newspapers have criticized us on more than one occasion for our methodology for how we have done that. We've been very consistent in what I tell you and how we do the computations. My opinion, this is my opinion, that the newspapers seem to want to tell the public how bad they think things are versus providing the public well-rounded explanations of all the facts that I think the public needs to know. I want you to know we, Colleyville, want to be completely transparent and provide all the information that citizens need to know to make their own decisions on how best to take care of their family. With all of that said, Colleyville currently has 60 active positive cases. Tarrant County shows Colleyville only having 39 active cases. And another important point that you shouldn't be aware of, on August the 4th, Tarrant County added 20 presumed positives to our count. And these are not cases confirmed by positive test. The county will continue to add presumed cases into our count, as they do into Tarrant County's count, but they will not break out which cases are confirmed and which are presumed for individual cities. So we do not know which of the cumulative positives that get added onto us are actually based on positive test and which are presumed. So that, just want you to know that's how it's working. It's okay, we'll deal, that's the data we have. It's imperfect data, we'll use it. But even with adding presumed positives, we continue to see the number of positive COVID cases stay steady or downtrend. Tarrant counties are actually trending down, which is great.
Yes.
And so our active positives are well below the cumulative positives. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. That's how we're dealing with it. Happy to talk to anybody about it, but we're very consistent in what we do. And we want to give you the best information you need on what is the current risk, and we define risk as how many people are out there actually sick in our community, not how many have been there since day one, because most of those people are not sick anymore. So with that said, I want to move on to, I did comment last time on West Nile virus. Last week, because we need to be concerned about West Nile virus. Tarrant County informed us that we have had 5 mosquito samples test positive for West Nile virus. And a few weeks back, we did have 2 people in Colleyville test positive for West Nile. So don't take that lightly. So what we're doing about that, in addition to fogging the areas where these positives occur, we continue to undertake aggressive information campaign to remind residents to take precautions and use insect repellents when you're outside. Remember, the best defense against West Nile virus is not getting bit by mosquitoes, if at all possible. And I have plenty of them, and I have a creek running through my property. So protect yourself. They recommend, hey, the 4 Ds. 1, DEET, so apply repellent containing EPA-registered active ingredients such as DEET, and follow directions on the package. One thing it can do. 2, dusk to dawn. This is when mosquitoes are most active, and I can absolutely attest to that. So try to avoid outdoor activities at that point, at that time, those times. Drain standing water. Standing water is the perfect breeding ground for mosquitoes, so drain any areas around the home, gutters, pools, tires, bucket, water bowls, as best you can. We also buy these little things you can put in the water that kills the larvae. That works too. And 4, dress appropriately. So when you go out, if you have to go out at those times, you know, wear long sleeve shirts, long pants and socks. I know when I walk out in my yard, if it's at dusk, man, they get me around my ankles and anywhere I have skin, so I've learned to do that, and that helps a lot. So be careful. West Nile is serious, so take it seriously. Thanks.
2020 just keeps giving, I guess. I heard that there was Godzilla at Lake Grapevine, so that's probably the next one. No, I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing you. Hey, but I do have some good news. Sales tax remains strong. The Texas Comptroller's Office has posted the most recent sales tax allocation information for August, representing all receipts from purchases made in June of this year. This is the 4th month following the COVID-19 effects on the economy, and we're still looking overwhelmingly positive. Our most recent collection came in at 15.4% over FY19. Colleyville is blessed, isn't it? City and CEDC combined went from $553,033 to $638,051, raising our year-to-date increase to $509,000 over FY19. Finance Director, Mr. Lester, he's over there, will dive deeper into these numbers as he does his report later tonight. Good thing. We got Colleyville's blessed.
Do you remember what the surplus is going to be?
500 and...
No, overall, 1.2 million.
1.2
plus another 1.4 cash.
Yep.
So we're
That's
blessed.
great,
Absolutely.
going extremely well. I'm going to report on the prisoner of war memorial. If I could ask for raise of hands, and I can't do that for those on TV. I would bet most of you are not aware that there's a prisoner of war memorial. But there is one at Sparger Park, which is off Bedford Road, south of Glade Road. The Sparger Park POW Memorial has been transformed into a rock garden. Unfortunately, Sparger Park floods very frequently. This year, I think at least 4 times probably, maybe more. Therefore, the plant material has a tough time living there. So what our parks team has done is built a new rock garden with new trees, and those trees are high enough so that the floods should not take them out. Will provide a serene area to honor and respect the intentions of the memorial and those who served our great nation. And as one who did serve, but certainly not in active war, I so much honor those who have served, those who gave their lives, and those who have protected our wonderful nation.
I have another announcement related to Sparger Park, who's getting a lot of good attention right now. Sparger Park's playground surface project is underway. The excavation and drainage should be completed this week. The installation of a new poured-in-place safety surface should begin next week. This surface will help with maintenance to the playground, especially with the frequent flooding that occurs at the park and the need to replace the wood fiber that gets washed away with the heavy rains. The project is scheduled to be completed by the end of August, so just in time for the weather to cool down and kids to use it. I also wanted to mention, I stopped by the library when I was coming in on my way here, and there's an app, the Cloud Drive Library, where you listen to audiobooks and you can read your ebooks. You can check out your library books in the library now from your phone, so it's really cool. Everyone should go check it out.
I didn't know that.
It's really neat. You just pull the app up on your phone, you scan the little barcode, and then there's a plate type thing at the door that you put your book on to clear it, and it tells you on your phone when it's cleared.
Wonderful.
It's great.
That's very cool. And in the great news category, we finished one of the Mcdonald School Road roundabouts that opened just yesterday. The roundabout at Mcdonald School Road and Westcote is now open to through traffic. Work continues in the area at the neighboring roundabout at John McCain and Westcote. We thank the public for their patience as we continue to enhance the roads within our community. I drove through there yesterday, and it made it such a big difference.
And
And
it
by
was
the
done
way-
on time, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Exact
on
time.
Maybe a
That's-
little ahead of schedule. I was going to congratulate Ray.
On
Yeah.
time and,
Yeah.
and on budget,
Budget.
I believe.
Okay, well, I have some more good news about our police department. Kudos to the police department property and evidence team. There was an audit done this week by the annual outside property and evidence audit, and it was conducted by Property Room Consulting out of New Jersey. The consultant randomly audited approximately 950 items of property and reviewed our policies and procedures over a 4-day period of time. The consultant has done hundreds of audits over the years and told us that Colleyville Police Department was the second best department. Second best, Chief? We're gonna work on first. We didn't like that answer, but it was the second best department he had seen in his career, and that our packaging of evidence was the very best he had ever seen, hands down. He said he could tell that our property and evidence operation had been well managed for many years. He only found one item that was misplaced out of 950. The misplaced item was ultimately located in another evidence box. That's an error rate of .001053. Awesome. We want to congratulate property and evidence technician Kyla Garul on a job well done. She is a great employee and represents the professionalism and dedication to excellence we all strive for in our police department. So great work.
And I've got some recent news about Tri-County power outages. Recently, the northwest section of the city experienced power interruptions. Staff had a call with Tri-County CEO and staff earlier this week. They shifted around some of their electricity load to deal with changing demands over the last few months with folks working from home, et cetera. Their older system couldn't handle the loads, and now they are making some needed upgrades and replacements. The planned outages related to system improvements should now be complete. They are confident all repairs have been made and no further power outages and failures should occur.
Good. People will be glad to hear that. I'll say just one last thing to say. So we're going through a census in the U.S., of course, and I can say Colleyville is doing a great job. I mean, we've been at the top of the heap in terms of responses from citizens, so all of you have done a fantastic job. They're always sending me emails and stuff about how we're at the top. In fact, I didn't ask today what our percentage is, but it's very high. And they are at the stage where they're sending actually people out to knock on doors. There'll probably be only a little bit of that in Colleyville because we're nearly done, but that happens everywhere else. But they did send T-shirts acknowledging that. This is their census T-shirt, so I told them we would wear them. They're asking us to advertise this. So I'm doing that, and at the same time congratulating you for what a good job the citizens have done. Y'all respond without even being asked. So I appreciate it, as you do everything. So I appreciate it. So I think that's all the announcements. We will now move to agenda item number 4, which is the consent reading and public hearing of Resolution R-20-4525, a resolution approving city council action under consent items at the regular city council meeting of August 18th, 2020. Whereas city council has taken action on certain items on the agenda under consent items, now therefore be it resolved by the city council of the city of Colleyville, Texas, Section 1, that the agenda decisions approved by city council action under consent items as follows are hereby adopted. A, approval of the minutes of the regular city council meeting of August 4, 2020. B, approval of the minutes of the regular city council meeting of July 21, 2020. C, approval of a contract with Weaver and Tidwell LLP for auditing services for fiscal year ending September the 30th, 2020, in the amount of $50,650 for the audit of 2020 financial statements and comprehensive annual financial report preparation and printing. D, approval of a construction services agreement with Infinity Contractors International LTD for the Justice Center HVAC replacement project in an amount not to exceed $391,045 and authorizing the city manager to execute the agreement. E, approval of a professional services agreement with the Texas Coalition for Affordable Power and GEX Energy's Commercial Electric Service Agreement for power to be provided on or after January 1, 2023, and authorizing the city manager to execute the agreements. And it is so resolved. So if there's no questions on the minutes, Kyle's going to speak on the audit money.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Kyle Lester, Finance Director. On May 15th of 2018, the city awarded the contract for auditing services to Weaver and Tidwell LLP for a 5-year term, subject to an annual review. This would be, our recommendation is to continue that contract. In the previous fiscal year, the amount was about $49,450. This would be a 2.5% increase, which was indicated in our initial contract. We've really enjoyed working with Weaver and Tidwell. In particular, their accuracy and their timeliness has been a big help for us. So we would recommend to continue our contract for 1 more year.
Any question for Kyle?
No, I know I've interacted with them as well on the audit committee, and I've been very impressed with them. So I'm glad to know you are because you deal with them the most.
Yeah, they've been very thorough, and I've been quite pleased also. I'm on the audit committee also.
Thank you, Kyle. Ray?
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Ray Reyes, Director of Public Works. I'm here to get approval for the project that was authorized in our last 5-year CIP by resolution for the upcoming fiscal year 21. Due to the lead time on obtaining the units, the work will not commence until October. So October of 2021, so we are getting this project underway now so we can order it. So after the project involves the removal and replacement of 6 existing rooftop units, the removal and replacement of 3 split systems at the Colleyville Justice Center. This includes providing roof curb adapters, the necessary utility connections for operations, protection of the existing mechanical well, and startup and commission of the new units. We received 4 bids for this project. After reviewing pricing, references, and qualification, the recommendation is to award the contract to Infinity Contractors. Although they are the second low bidder, the low bidder did not have the qualifications that we were looking for. And this being, with most of our projects, we tried it once to go with the low bidder, even though it wasn't a well-recommended one, and it just didn't work well. So we're being extra cautious as to who we award these contracts to. So that's the recommendation we're making here. They are a local-based company, and they've been in business for over 25 years, and had similar work with large corporations and municipalities as well. As you can see here, the ranges were from $356,000 all the way up to $646, and then staff recommends approval of the second low bidder.
Okay. Very good. Any questions for Ray?
Yeah, Ray, I've got a question. It appears that they have to do more work for the Justice Center, is that correct?
Yes, sir. Well, this is all for the Justice Center. There's just different systems in there throughout the.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And then my other question was about the contingency.
So the
It
contingency.
seems a rather high contingency.
We do just because we never know what we're going to dig up in there. But again, that contingency is always safeguarded to make sure that it's only used for what we need it to.
Okay.
So if you do take out the contingency, we did budget this project for $300,000 2 years ago. And so even with the number 2 bidder, you're about 40,000 over budget. 'Cause
Yeah,
we're going with the second.
That's quite good compared to, I mean, looking ahead for 2 years.
Correct.
Oh, and I want to make one other point. You are now producing reports on projects that show whether we use a contingency or not. And I think that's been a big help for the council. I just wanted to pass that on. That we don't always, in very few projects, do we actually need the contingency. And if anyone ever wants to find out whether we use it or not, those reports are available.
Yes, we make those available monthly, and it does show the contingency, whether it's used or not for that
Absolutely.
particular project.
Thank you very much, Ray.
You're welcome.
I just wanted to say this also, Ray. Oh, and by the way, I'm on the audit committee, so I got to report all this to you guys.
Oh, good.
But honestly, Ray,
We
was
know,
looking-
we know that, Bobby.
I noticed that there was like just shy of 40,000. I was curious why, and then you're telling us that because of the qualifications that were met. I usually would have a problem with that, but I don't because the numbers are so skewed as far as after that number. It starts jumping up to 499 and 646. So I just kind of went and did a little bit of research, and that honestly, that 391 was pretty much in line. So good job on doing that by weeding that out, since we don't always get the best quality out of the lowest bidder.
Absolutely. That's one thing we try to make sure we get the good quality.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, some
Thanks
of
for
the
doing your
numbers
homework.
looked a little strange too.
Yeah, I would.
They were charging more for hauling off the old equipment. I mean, it just seemed like that it wasn't in line with the other bidders. The second bidder is much closer to the others.
Yes,
Uh,
yes, it is.
Yeah, thank you
I
so
think
much.
that goes back into, like you said, the haul off. I was noticing it as well, that there's a salvage value into these, and some of them will take it into effect and some don't. And you can tell those that do take that and they'll adjust the prices.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah,
All right.
Thank you, Ray.
right, thank you.
Appreciate it. And tell us how we're going to buy our power now?
Yes, now we're going to talk about power.
Oh,
Adrienne
boy.
Lothery, Assistant City Manager, and I'm going to invite Margaret Summereve, she's the Executive Director of the Texas Coalition for Affordable Power, up here to join me. It's not often that we talk about power, so even though we're talking about a new strategy, I did want to provide a little bit of background information. And Margaret, feel free to jump in and correct me as I go. Margaret and I have had quite a bit of conversation about TCAP's new strategy, and we've also had some conversation with Councilmember Dodson. The utility issues are always of interest to him, so we wanted to make sure to have some conversations in advance and make sure we were prepared for all of those questions. So I think many of you are on the City Council when we awarded our last contract with TCAP. That was, about
2016.
yeah, it seems like 5 years ago, but it wasn't quite that many yet, about 4 years ago. And so at that time, you likely recall, so Texas Coalition of Affordable Power has been around for almost 20 years. Colleyville was a founding member. So we have used TCAP. It's a nonprofit corporation, and so it's governed by local governments. They sit on the board. I actually sat on TCAP's board and represented Colleyville a year or two ago. And they have the ability to go directly to the wholesale market to purchase electricity, which is a really great advantage for the city in terms of being able to efficiently use resources to procure the energy needs that we have. So there's about 150 members today, and I've got a little graphic here that TCAP put together not too long ago that I think is really helpful to understand the differences in the way things are purchased. So, working with a nonprofit like TCAP, we're able, as I mentioned, to go directly to the wholesale market. And so JEXA, you saw that name come up in the resolution you read. JEXA serves as the billing agent for TCAP. Provides all of those services to members. So a lot of times you'll hear different for-profit vendors come in and say, well, we can get you better rates, there's different things that happen. And a lot of that is just projection on, well, we think we can time the market better. But there's a lot of hidden fees that aren't always factored into those situations. And so what this graphic is attempting to show you is that when you work with some of those for-profit vendors, there are things broken out and added in there when they have some preferred providers. So they might get you multiple bids, but they might be bids from all of their friends. And when we did analysis, a deep dive a couple of years ago, and compared what all of those fees were, we went out and got competitive proposals just to check and make sure that everything was still in line. TCAP's aggregation fee, which is really just the administrative fee, and there's only one employee. It's not a large administrative overhead organization. Okay, a couple of
Okay.
consultants too. TCAP's cost of providing these services was 1/3, I think, the cost of all of these others. So I just share that because, again, it's not something that we talk about very often, and I think it's important to understand that we have a really great relationship here that provides a lot of value. So I mentioned that we have a current contract, and again, those of you that were here at the time we awarded that will recall it's a fixed price contract. That's traditionally what cities have done. It makes it easier to budget. You know what to anticipate. One of the things when TCAP took a look and said, okay, well, what can we do to provide even better services for our member cities and local governments? They found that going out, like right now we have a 5-year contract. Going out about that 5-year contract, you start to see the further out you go, the market builds in a premium. So I think what we've talked about is if you're buying a fixed rate contract for time periods under 2 years, that tends to be a little bit high because any sort of current volatility in the market is taken into account. And then when you get out past year 3 or so, that's when you start to have price adders add in, because once you get too far out, you just don't know what the landscape is going to look like. And so there's added rates built in there to cover any discrepancies in the market that might appear that far out into the horizon. And so the graphic on the slide, you see that really anything beyond that 3-year fixed price, you see that added cost built in. So we're trying to find a way to save some money and come up with a little bit of a different strategy. So again, you'll see this market here in terms of prices changing over time. So it's a graphic that some of the TCAP consultants put together, and really they did a look back and then a look forward and projected prices and determined that about that 2-year mark was the sweet spot in terms of how far out in the market at any given time to buy. But of course, we want to make sure that we have the ability to budget in a safe manner, and so there's a new strategy called the Strategic Hedging Program. And this is what TCAP is proposing to their members, and that's what's before you in this resolution this evening. So the Strategic Hedging Program is essentially going out 2 years at a time and buying energy. And so you're buying it at a fixed price, but again, in a more sophisticated way. So you are buying essentially 1/12 of your energy needs every month for 2 years from now. And I've got a little graphic that shows that in a kind of picture sort of way. And if there's 1 month where, for example, there's a hurricane and the pricing isn't good and you don't want to buy that month, you can skip that month and then catch up later and do more than 1/12 of the year's needs in a later month. So just a lot of flexibility there. And the other nice thing is you can use up to 5 qualified vendors rather than awarding the contract to 1 vendor. Because again, you're going out to the market every single month. So a lot more ability to get competitive pricing and some good advantage there.
Yeah, I think that's one of the major advantages that I saw. I mean, in addition to being able to not have to look so far out and not pay that extra penalty, but the fact that you're looking at five suppliers, 5 vendors, should be a very important factor. And I know you all have done the research, I guess, looking backwards, and your reaction is it's going to likely save. Nobody can guarantee, right? But likely save. Or why don't you give us your thoughts on that?
Yes, we went back and built the program starting in 2018. We took the prices we had in 16 and we moved forward. And generally, example, Colleyville, if we had been doing this, would have saved an additional $7,100 in 18, almost $18,000 in 19, a little over $9,000 in 20, and 21 pricing wasn't as good, but you still would have saved about $200. So over your really low rate right now, which is only 3.6 cents. And so we've seen that pattern. It's been there for the last 5 years. That's why we're bringing it forward now. We don't see that pattern going away anytime soon. Again, as Adrian had said, it gives some flexibility. If we see the pattern changing, we'll be the first to come back and say, it's not there anymore. We're going to lock this in. We're not going to do this anymore. So
Very good.
that was my next point is that,
And by the way, none of us are paying 3.6 at home, that's for sure. We're paying 10 or so. And it's a big deal.
Yeah, so as Margaret mentioned, one of the nice things is if there, as she mentioned, ever a point in time where we feel like we need to go into a different strategy and lock a fixed price in, we have the ability multiple times a year to convert this contract over. So we've got quite a bit of safety built into the plan. And this was that graphic I mentioned. So if you imagine, if you were to start buying in that very first block, January of 2021, you would start then for purchases for energy needs for 2023. And so the January of 2021, you'd be buying for January 2023 and so on. And then they've reflected in those kind of red hashed lines a couple of opportunities twice a year where you would have the opportunity to get out if desired. But just a graphical representation of the strategy there. And ultimately, what is before the council for approval this evening is authorization to participate in the program, the professional services agreement with TCAP to formalize that, as well as the CISA, the Commercial Electric Service Agreement with JEXA, that reflects the city's intent to participate in the strategic hedging program. So I'd be happy to answer any questions or hand it over to Margaret. And I know, of course, Councilmember Dodson is the expert on some of this now as well.
No, I feel very good about it.
Good, good.
Any other questions?
I just like having multiple vendors. That's what I always,
Yeah.
I think it's a big deal.
Very good. Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming by. Okay, so that's all the presentation, so a motion would be in order.
I'll make a motion to,
Oh, I need to have a public hearing.
sorry,
Public hearing is open. Have any cards?
we're all excited.
You was about to get it.
Gotta close your public hearing, yeah.
Anyone, I have no cards that I'm aware of. Would anyone like to speak on any of these items? See no one indicating that. So I'm going to close the public hearing. Public hearing is closed. Now a motion
All right.
is on.
Now I'll make a resolution to approve, I'll make a motion to approve Resolution R-20-4525.
I second the motion.
It's been one of those weeks, Mayor.
Isn't that the truth? Okay, I have a motion to approve by Councilmember Wheat, a second by Councilmember Dodson. Would you open the vote, please? And short, whenever you have it. Yours didn't work? Okay.
You breaking things, Timmy? Okay.
Councilmember Nakamura is saying hers hasn't worked either.
Go ahead and call her now.
Okay.
As we go.
All right, let me get back to my. And we'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Nakamura, how do you vote on the motion?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Linda Mood.
Aye.
Councilmember Wheat.
Aye.
The mayor votes aye. Councilmember Dodson.
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly.
Aye.
Councilmember Rigney.
Aye.
That motion is approved, therefore the resolution is approved. Now, we'll move to agenda item number 5. This is not for action. This is the monthly financial report that our financial director is going to give us. Kyle?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I'm Kyle Lesser, Finance Director. Tonight we have the monthly financial report for July of 2020. So through July, our general fund, net of the federal CARES Act funding, has collected 93% of our budgeted revenue and spent 79% of our budgeted costs. Sales and property taxes are both having a very strong year. We have some items that are lagging behind 2019, but overall we're still looking very positive. Again, the chart does include our CARES Act funding, and so does the information above. I just wanted to break that out a little bit, that being a pretty big anomaly for this year. So if we take out our CARES Act funding, that our surplus falls to about 3.8 million. This is still higher than we expected. We do have about $1 million more in costs comparing through July of last year. What's happening is in certain months of the year, you have, the way the calendar falls, you have an extra pay period. This year, it came a little bit sooner than it did last year. So these figures should balance out a little bit more, I believe, in August when I'm reporting on that. Property tax is looking a little bit stronger than the previous year. We've collected virtually all of our levy at this point. We are going to receive approximately $320,000 more than in FY19. I'll continue to note that increase comes solely from newly developed property. Colleyville opted to adopt what was known as the effective rate, now the no new revenue rate, for the current fiscal year. Of course, we've talked a lot about property tax in the past month, and we are proposing a rate that is below our no new revenue rate for next fiscal year. Sales tax continues to, frankly, astonish me a bit. Currently, we've, from the last one, as Councilmember Linda Boot mentioned, the collections from June were a full 15% higher than last June. So our year-to-date increase, fiscal year-to-date increase, is just over 8%. That's a dollar increase of about $509,000. We're seeing, we are comparing favorably with most of our surrounding communities, as well as the state. The areas that have those destination-based economies, such as Hearst and especially Grapevine, are certainly feeling a lot more hurt at this point in time, and hopefully their figures do start to turn around in the next several months. Our utility fund has collected 70% of our budgeted revenue and spent 63% of budgeted expenditures. Our surplus of $1.2 million is stronger than we saw last June, and it does include our true-up from the Trinity River Authority. Netting out costs from the Trinity River Authority and just focusing on the cost the city controls, we do track a little bit under budget. We're closer than we were in the previous few months, but we're still tracking below budget, which is, of course, what we like to see. And last but not least, our drainage fund continues to look strong as well. Our surplus grew from last month and from last fiscal year to date. We're sitting at about $336,000 revenue over expenditures, which is about $100,000 more than we saw in the previous fiscal year. And that is all I have for you tonight.
Very good. What do you attribute the drainage fund more this year than last year for these few months?
So it's mostly expenditures that are coming in lower. I was actually just looking at that, kind of across the board also. It's a little bit in salaries. Primarily you have, so about 40,000 savings in personnel, 33 in supplies, and some contractual costs are lower as well. Really the entire difference is coming from your expenditure side.
Okay.
So more efficient spending.
Very good. Thank you.
Sure.
Any questions for Kyle?
Great job.
Thank you.
Hard to ask questions when the report's so good.
All good news.
We're in great shape. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing. We're very blessed. Very good. There's no action on that in that case. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kyle.
We do that specifically every month to ensure everybody can hear what our financial, I mean, it's great news, you know, but even if it wasn't, we'd be telling you what it is.
Exactly.
So we're now going to move to agenda item 6A, and this is second reading and public hearing of ordinance O-20-2127, and this is one of those, we have two, 6A and 6B, for the daycare center that the applicant has requested that we table. So I would entertain a motion to table agenda item 6A.
I move that we table item 6A.
Okay.
I'll second.
Have a motion to table.
You want the ordinance number O-20-2127.
Okay. Have a motion to table the ordinance by Councilmember Dodds, and I think that was a second by Mayor Pro Tem Lindaboot. By Councilmember Kelly, I'm sorry.
I'm just working on my deep voices tonight.
Yeah, you're doing good, doing good. Okay, is our voting machine working?
Go ahead and call on.
Okay, we'll do this call too. Okay, so this is a motion to table, so a vote aye is approval to table. Councilmember Nakamura?
No.
Pardon?
I think you normally start with
Oh, Mayor Pro Tem Linda moved. Keep me
doesn't-
straight.
It doesn't matter. Aye.
Councilmember Wheat,
Aye.
the mayor votes aye. Councilmember Dodson.
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly.
Aye.
Councilmember Rigney.
Aye.
And Councilmember Nakamura.
Aye.
Very good. That motion is approved. Therefore, ordinance O-20-2127 is tabled. We'll move to agenda item number B, 6B, which is second reading and public hearing of ordinance O-20-2128, which is also related to the daycare center. So this, I'll entertain a motion to table this.
I'll move to table ordinance O-20-2128.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion to table by Councilmember Kelly, a second by Councilmember Nakamura. So, call the vote. Councilmember Wheat.
Aye.
The mayor votes aye. Councilmember Dodson.
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly.
Aye.
Councilmember Rigney.
Aye.
Councilmember Nakamura.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Linda moved.
Aye.
Motion's approved. Therefore, ordinance O-20-2128 is tabled. Move to agenda item 6C. So this is second reading and public hearing of ordinance O-20-2129, request to appeal the decision to the Planning and Zoning Commission for consideration of a special use permit for a fence to extend into the required street side yard on Lot 1, Block 7, Creekside at Colleyville, Phase 3, located at 3501 Valmer Avenue, case ZC 20-013.
Thank you. Ben Briner, Director of Community Development. As you stated, this is a request for a special use permit for a fence to extend into the required street side yard at 3501 Valmer Avenue. It is within the Creekside at Colleyville subdivision, which is a private street gated subdivision. This is at the corner with Petrus Boulevard. Current zoning is PUDR, Plan Unit Development Residential, and it is designated for residential use. Here's some pictometry photos of the site. So they are currently constructing a house at this corner property, and they are requesting to extend a wrought iron fence into that required side yard, street side yard setback. To give some brief history, we did send a letter to the subdivision in November of 2018 identifying the current regulations at that time. However, in August of 2019, the City Council amended the Land Development Code, which modified the setback requirements for fences within the street side. A building permit was reviewed and issued in April of this year for the house. It is currently under construction, and they did apply in June of this year for the special use permit. So this is the current regulation today for a corner side yard. It basically only allows for a fence to extend to that required street side yard setback. And for this subdivision, it is a 15-foot setback from that property line. Here's the exhibit provided by the applicant. They are proposing a wrought iron fence only 5 feet away from the property line itself. There is a sidewalk that it would be adjacent to. The red line, as you see, would be if they were to comply with the required 15-foot setback requirement. This is a photo of a similar property within the subdivision. It does show a wrought iron fence. It was permitted prior to that change of August of last year. But here's some photos of the site in question. This was a few weeks ago, so I'm sure they've started framing already. But if you look at the picture on the right especially, the adjacent house to the back side of it does have an existing solid wood fence, and it does currently comply with the 15-foot requirement, the setback. This was provided by the applicant to identify the properties under control, and they are representing the blue colored lots. This would be the top blue starred property in question. We do have 2 other properties within the subdivision later on tonight. But for any situation where they do not comply or are proposing to not comply with the requirement, they have the option to request a special use permit, and therefore the request tonight. We did send notices to all properties within 500 feet, but did not receive any responses one way or the other in favor or in opposition.
Staff recommends denial as it does not meet the technical requirements of the Land Development Code. The Planning and Zoning Commission made a motion to approve the request, but it failed to receive the requisite 4 affirmative votes, and that is the same as a denial. Therefore, it does trigger the supermajority vote requirement, which requires 3/4 of all the council members. That would be 6 affirmative votes for it to pass.
Okay.
And I can answer any questions.
Could you go back to the picture that showed that all the lots lay out? Yeah, that one. So this is one of 3 we have tonight, talking about the same side yard deals. We've talked about them at some length, but could you point out, so this one is the top blue star.
Correct.
Just while this is up here, can you show me the other 2 that are coming, the next 2 agenda items, where they
Yeah,
are?
they'd be the other blue star.
The other blue, so the 3 blue ones are the 3 tonight, okay.
Correct.
Very good.
Could you go back to the picture that shows this house where it backs up to the house, that one right there on the right-hand side? So there is no wrought iron fence on the other one?
That's correct.
No.
And so my reaction would be to reject it so that, because it keep it consistent with the house that it backs up to. That's just
Yeah.
my recommendation.
And I stated this last time, but I'll do it again. Yeah, that's my opinion, this particular lot. We did give one approval out there, but there were some extenuating circumstances. This is a flat lot with the home behind it, with the fence lined up where it should be, I mean, according to the current ordinance.
Right.
And so I see no reason to provide an SUP that would be a variance. If no other comments, I'll open a public hearing. Okay, public hearing is open. Cheryl Turner, I do have 2 cards.
I'm going to miss you guys after tonight.
Yeah.
We're getting to know you.
Just keep coming back. We always need people, you know.
I'm running out of fences.
Where have you been? We haven't seen you for a couple days.
I know. All right, well, I know I've got 2 here tonight. This is the first of the 2, and then I do have a homeowner here tonight who's purchased this property, who
Okay.
also, I believe, registered to speak tonight. So mostly I'm just here as a resource. You've heard kind of what I've said before on
Yeah.
this, but they do have some other things to offer from a personal standpoint. And one of the issues we have made in the past is that since this has been allowed for a period of time in Creekside, the marketing strategy had always been you can have a solid fence on the build line, or you can have an extended fence, and it must be open. And which do you prefer, the privacy or the existing or the extra backyard? One of the arguments that we've made for why we want to continue this is that the community is obviously coming to a close. We're down to our last few lots, and these last properties we feel will be prejudiced in relation to the others, not to have that same opportunity. With that, I really don't have any more to add. I just wanted to give
Okay.
a little opening
Sure.
so that our homeowners could talk as well.
Question.
Mhm.
So did you change the marketing strategy after the ordinance changed?
Yes, we did, but
Okay.
we just didn't talk about it like that. It was
Yeah.
when people came in after that point, I know this customer was told that they would not be able to do it, that we were before the city trying to get a special use permit. But yeah, we've not since then represented that they could continue to do it. We had hoped that we could get through the SUP process and they would be allowed through that mechanism.
Okay.
But yeah, all of our buyers have been aware that
Okay.
things did change.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, do you have Sanjay Patel and Jesri, I think? Yeah.
Good evening,
Hi.
everyone. My name's Sanjay Patel, and this is Jayshree Patel at 4844 Van Zandt
Thank you.
Drive, Keller, Texas.
Okay.
And we're here, just as Cheryl said, that we're the new homeowners here,
Mhm.
or hoping to be. And we just wanted to just go through it, and we've been hearing the last 2 hearings, and I believe that the first hearing was that you were going to do like a blanket approval, and then the fence on 3501 on the other street got approved. And from between first hearing and a second hearing, it kind of changed to doing that we're going to do individual reviews. So I'm mainly going to focus on the individual review of my property, future property. Really what I wanted to go through it is that I understand that there's a fence behind us, which is wooden fence, and the fence that we want is a metal fence, right? And there's a huge issue because there's one wood and one metal. So from everyone's perspective, that's not allowed. However, the way we see it is that who does it actually affect? Who will actually see that fence, right? Because at the end of the day is that, you know, if the road is open to the public, then everyone will see it and they may say, oh, that doesn't look right, that looks horrible. But looking at the community, it's a very small community and it's kind of split up into two communities, not two communities, two entrances. One is on the north side and one is on the south side. We are on the south side. So if I may just use the overhead projector.
Sure,
just to
absolutely.
picture up. I don't know how this works. So.
Just put it down and they'll turn it on.
Is that-
Yeah.
I don't believe the camera's working.
Camera right there.
Camera's not working.
It's not working, okay. No problem.
Sorry about that. What's?
All right, so basically what we're doing is that,
What?
just do that one now.
Is there another one you're going to show too? You may have an-
Yeah, no, okay. I'll just go through those two. So while they do that, I'll just go through kind of
Okay.
why we're
Yeah.
here. I have a store in Colleyville. I wanted to live in Colleyville because of the store. I meet Colleyville people every day because I have the store
What
there.
is your store?
My store is, it's on Glade Road.
Okay.
It's near Albertson. It's a copy and ship. It's called
Okay,
copy and
yeah.
ship, so advertising, free advertising.
Mm.
So I like the people. That's why we wanted to go to Colleyville.
Great.
We weren't looking for this size of a house or anything like that. We looked at lots of older houses, but our heart just wasn't in there. And when we saw Main View, we said, you know, this is way beyond what we wanted to spend. However, it's our dream home. So if we're going to have our dream home, we've got to scrounge every bits of penny that we can to get this property. And, you know, we're on the fence of making it work. So, you know, the actual dream home is now partly demotivated because we can't get what we want. Now, the piece of land that we're talking about to be fenced is almost the same size as a piece of land that we can use at the back, meaning that it's about 1,200 square foot of land at the back that we're going to use. Now, if we fenced in with a wooden fence, which is kind of butted right against the patio, then all that open land is going to be the same size as the amount that we're able to use. So it's basically that land is there. It's the right of use for our land is restricted because we are having a smaller fence, wooden fence, that's butted right against the patio. And because the wooden fence and metal fence and it doesn't look good, we're restricted by using our land. So while they do that, I'm running out of steam, so I'm going to
Okay.
pass it over
Fine.
to my wife.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. My name is Jayashree Patel, and I'm here to put my concerns forward. And really excited to move to Colleyville area. But the fence issue is a little concern in many ways because we feel like city is restricting us from use of our land as well as part of my property. The main reason I am moving to a 2-bedroom downstairs house is my elderly mother. That she struggles to go up the stairs, so her bedroom is going to fall on that side of the land and she suffers anxiety. So we told her that you won't be able to use that bedroom because she cannot open the window because she's scared. She will be on her own during the day when we both are at work. So it's going to restrict me from using that bedroom. So my request was to allow the metal fence so no one can knock on her window while she's sleeping during the day and it doesn't scare her or anything because she's kind of scaredy person. She's scared to live on her own, but she has managed so far. Now, we're going to build the wooden fence because from the wall of my house to the build line, there is about 2.5 foot or 3 foot gap, which doesn't require permission. So my situation is I have to build the fence. So wooden fence up to her window, her bedroom window. If metal fence is permitted, it will be looking better in the sense of from inside the house and outside. Again, the house behind doesn't have it, but they do have the permission to build. They decided not to. But 2 houses in front of me has it. So it doesn't really look awkward or any weird situation because 2 houses in front of me, there is just a small road and 2 houses in front of me will have the metal fence. So I request all of you to approve my metal fence and give my mom a little privacy and security, please.
Okay. Got your picture up there now.
All right. Me again. You can hear this British accent for a little while longer. What I'm trying to identify here is that the entrance, the south entrance, is really just demonstrating who this affects. So the yellow is the neighbors who will probably be the only one who see that fence. Because as you drive up that road on the south entry, people will either go left or right. So if they go right, they won't see the fence at all. And if they go left, then there's only like the people in the like yellow color. They're the only ones that will affect it. So my thing is that if it's only a minority people, and I don't think anyone's kind of objected to it, is, why can we not do it?
Okay.
So it's just a small kind of number of people that we're doing. Moving on to the next slide. This is the neighbor behind us. His fence is right against the patio itself. So, it's inconvenient for us to have it like that because, the use of space is not there. We can move on to the next one, and this is the actual unusable piece of land that will be there if we don't have a barrier. So this is the other side of it as well. You can see how much of a land that will be kind of missing on that. Now, we paid quite a bit of money for that corner lot. So if we don't use it, it's money really not well spent. It does kind of create with having a metal fence, it does create like a bubble. So if we want some kids to play on that extra piece of land, kick football around, we all want our kids to go out, but they cannot use that side of it. So it's protection as well.
Okay. Very good. I will try to respond to each of the comments you made. We're still in a public hearing. Let me see if there's anyone else that need to speak first. Anyone else need to, I don't have any more cards. Anyone else to want to speak
So
on
my
this?
wife just wants to ask.
Pardon? Oh, sure.
Before you decide and vote on a metal fence, I also had another suggestion. If
Okay.
council decides not to have it because of the house behind me, I'm requesting to have extra 2-foot wooden fence up to the bedroom window that I can extend. So at least my mom have a little privacy up to 5 foot. Maybe I already have about 2.5 to 3 foot gap between the build line and the actual wall. But I'm asking for 2 extra foot,
Okay.
maybe extend, so that way I can have a wooden fence, and if any hazard issue comes in future, there is enough room.
Yeah, so I will get to that one. I probably will ask Ben something about that when we get there, but I'm gonna try to remember. So I heard no one else wishing to speak. The reason I'm asking, I'm gonna close the public part. Oh, I do. So let me deal with that, and then I'm gonna come back and try to answer your questions. So,
Sit down.
Pardon? Yes, and I'll allow you to come back up when we talk about it. Kathy Hadley is the next card. Yes.
Kathy Hadley, 204 Timberline Drive North, to represent myself. I don't see a problem with them wanting to put up the iron fence. I think that looks a whole lot nicer than the wood fence, and I don't understand what the big concern is. If the neighbors don't like it, tough, it's their house, and the iron fence is nice. If there's more to this, then I would appreciate discussion with y'all. But
Okay,
otherwise, I'm supportive of what they want, the fence.
I'll try to explain it.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's all the cards I have. Anyone else wish to speak in the public hearing? See no one indicating that, so I'm going to close the public hearing. Public hearing is closed. Now, I don't know if I'm going to remember everything you asked, but I'll try to. If I forget, I'll let you come up here and ask me again or comment again. Several things that you said I would like to address. One, I'll just hit them as I think about them. One was your rationale that, well, only a few people will see this because this is a gated community. That's not the reason that we make these decisions. The ordinances were specifically set for reasons that really go beyond any one neighborhood. It has to do with the entire city and all the neighborhoods in the city. This council is holding a very, very high standard on quality and design and methodology, and side yard fences are one of those. And you commented about whether the guy across the street has one. Have you heard all of our previous discussions, so on video? So you heard a lot of discussion that we had and the rationale that we went through. We had probably 6 or so, I don't remember, total lots out in this area with this same type of request. We did approve one. We allowed a wrought iron fence, and we said we would not allow any wooden fence out beyond where it's supposed to be. We allowed that one because there was an extenuating circumstance. It had a wall, and so there was some safety factor associated with that because the fence would be right on the wall. The wall was made to have that fence on top of it when they designed that lot and built the stone wall. And the house immediately behind that house, the wall extended to that house, and there was already a fence there, a wrought iron fence. And so we did make an exception and allowed that one, primarily driven by the fact that that wall was there. And we said, okay, in that case, that's enough of extenuating circumstance that we're going to allow that. We turned others down. In this particular case, I've said from the first time that this came up, I said same thing I said when this item got opened. This was a flat lot. The home behind it is conforming to the ordinance, which is perfectly fine. There's just no, and this is a SUP for a special use permit for actually doing something that violates the ordinance. And so this council has consistently held very, very high standard on making a decision that would violate the current ordinance. And I simply have come up with no rationale for this lot on why we should do that. We also have, it requires a special supermajority vote to do it. Staff has denied it. And this is, we're trying to deal with, but you said that we had changed our mind, we were going to do this as a blanket. This council never talked about doing all these as a blanket. We're dealing with every single lot individually, so I'm not sure.
Mayor, I think there was a request from the builders to do that,
Yeah.
but we never accepted,
But we
we
didn't
never
agree.
agreed to do that.
Right, and that's what I meant.
Yeah, that's what, I think that's
That's correct.
what you may
Yeah.
have heard, but I'm sure that was the case.
Yeah. The comment, and you had several slides, and both of you spoke about, well, if I can't do this, I can't use my land. I simply disagree with that. This is your land. You can use it however you want to. whether you have a fence or not, you have use of the land. So I just probably have a different opinion than you do. It does not stop you from using the land. It just doesn't have a fence where you would like to have that fence. And the person behind you has the use of his land, just in a fence in a different location. I appreciate why you're asking. Believe me, don't take that I don't appreciate why you're asking. I'm just trying to explain to you the rationale here. The other thing that I've said in previous meetings is, if we deviate from the ordinances and allow people to do special things, even though from your vantage point, and I understand that, hey, only the people in the subdivision that care about it, but I can guarantee you, other people in not just your subdivision, but in town, will come ask for the same thing, and if we say no, then they're gonna say, why, you're treating other people different than us. So once you do a variance, it's very hard to stop doing variances. And so that's why this council has, up to this point, held a very high standard on requiring a reason, a very specific reason that stands up to muster on why we would make such a decision. And so I know you don't like hearing what I'm saying and don't agree with what I'm saying, but I'm just being honest with you and trying to explain to you the rationale for what I'm thinking, and I suspect what others are thinking, although they can speak for themselves. I tried to cover everything you said. I may not have. I may have forgotten something, but George.
There's one thing, Mayor, I think if they wish to use metal, they can use metal. I mean, we're not saying they need to use wood. And as far as I know, they can bring the metal fence close to the front.
Yeah, I was going to ask Ben, you had a picture that showed where that fence can be. I think you did. And I wanted, because I don't know where that window is, but I understand our question about the window. Yeah, this one. So the red line, you have it terminated.
It could actually
It
go
could
further
go
north.
further down.
Right, I think kind of that box in the middle that you
Yeah.
can barely see, I think that's the bedroom, so I think that's
Oh, I see.
where.
But according to ordinance, where the red line is, that red line can extend all the way down to that green line.
Yeah.
If they chose. And
It could come all the way to the front if you, close to the front.
I do
Yeah.
believe in our previous adjustment of the code, we stopped the corner side yard of the structure.
At the front
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
structure.
And so on the corner side, I thought we applied we didn't just apply the setback, we applied, or the structure, whichever is further,
Not on the side, just on the front.
just on the front.
Yeah. Yeah, and so my point was, I think, the comment about the concern about the window, you can legally extend that fence where the red line is down past that window. You agree with that?
Yes.
So that's not a problem. You don't have to ask for special permission to do that. It's just close to the house. It is close to the house. Any other questions or comments?
I do. Did you say you own the copy ship by Albertsons? Did you say the copy ship? The copy ship over by Albertsons, right? Yeah, thanks for being in Colleyville. We appreciate that. So I just wanted to make sure I got that right spot. That was the copy ship over there.
Is that coffee ship?
No, copy ship over there.
COPY.
Yeah. and-
Copy.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
With an
I know that.
Albertsons.
Thank you.
So anyways, just wanted to say, hey, welcome to Colleyville, the Patel family. I just hope that, that this is going to work for you. And the mayor's right. We're up here to make sure that these rules are applied and that we enforce those rules. And sorry, it may seem like it's changed in between the subdivision, but the new council and the new rules that has been in place and we've known about it. So, and so has the builder, unfortunately, and I'm not pinning it back on them. But hopefully you'll take advantage of that red line and protect your mother, and you'll go a little further as wherever you need to go along the side of that house. So, but thanks for choosing Colleyville.
Yes. Okay, if there's no further discussion, a motion would be in order.
This is a motion to deny, is that what it is? Or to approve? So we're-
No,
you're gonna
motion.
Okay, I'm going to make the motion to deny ordinance 0-20-2129.
I second the motion.
Have a motion to deny by Mayor Pro Tem Lindamood, a second by Councilmember Dodson. Are we voting manually, Mr. City Secretary, or not?
Set it up.
Mine came up. Nakamura,
Oh, got it, we'll try it.
Ms. Nakamura's didn't come up.
No,
Hers is not working.
okay, so,
Up to you.
yeah, did you want to try it or not?
Mm.
He wants to give it a shot.
That's fine.
Yeah, I haven't touched it.
Okay, we'll vote manually then, so it's up to me, so this is a motion to deny, I vote aye.
Aye. Oh, I'm
Uh,
sorry.
Councilmember Dodson votes
Aye.
aye. Councilmember Keller?
Aye.
Councilmember Rigney?
Aye.
Councilmember Nakamura?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Lindamood?
Aye.
Councilmember Wheat?
Aye.
Okay, the motion is approved, the ordinance is denied. So we'll move to agenda item number 6D. It says second reading and public hearing of ordinance O-20-2130, consideration of a special use permit for a fence to extend into the required street side yard on Lot 54, Block 5, Creekside at Colleyville, Phase 3, located at 3913 Lambrusco Lane, case ZC 20-014.
All right, so this is the second of the three in the same neighborhood. This one at 3913 Lambrusco Lane. Here's an aerial map of the property. It is zoned PUD-R, Plan Unit Development Residential, and it is designated
Yep.
for residential use. So here's a pictometry photo of the site. This one's slightly different. It is adjacent to that entrance into the neighborhood. There is a subdivision wall. It previously had two sections of the wall. The wall that's on the north side was removed for access to the property. So the existing wall only exists on the back side, on the street side, the rear entrance street side. Very similar history as before. I won't go through this again. And again, this is for a fence in the street side yard setback. And so this is the exhibit. A little bit different. They are only requesting a 5-foot encroachment, so 10 feet from the property line. And I highlighted this, there was some conversation at the last meeting about rather than the entire stretch or run shown in green, reducing that significantly with what I've highlighted in blue.
Yeah.
So I think the pictures tell the story best. There is that existing wall to the backside. Their intent is to tie into that wall. And that's where the conversation came in as far as when it became in line with the rear of the house, then tying it into that rear corner.
Yep.
Here's some other photos. You can see there are some trees that exist along that stretch of the road. There are 4 trees. Those will remain. But again, the main intent is to tie into that existing corner of the wall that exists today, as you can see here.
So you're,
Okay.
sorry, Mayor. So you're saying that they're wanting to tie into the back of the fence right there and then turn it into the back of the house?
Right.
Is that the
To
intent?
the back
Yeah.
corner.
The blue line?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And-
My
yeah.
this
In
was the
fact,
conversation.
that was discussed last time,
Yeah, I was,
and, oh, yeah, you weren't.
moving a kid into college.
That's right,
That's
you
right.
weren't here. Yeah, so there's great discussion over this one, and by the end of the discussion, we said, yeah, there's some extenuating circumstances that masonry subdivision fence in the back of that house already extends out to where that dotted blue line is.
Right.
And go back to the picture showing, go back. See
Now-
to the left where the green line hits that fence, they took a panel out, and so, it's kind of, it's awkward to have to take a half a panel out, so we asked, and at that time, it appeared that the council was willing to allow that brick panel to be reinserted, but now go back to where it goes down to the edge of the house.
Right.
Take that back down to that, but then going over to the back of the house with wrought iron or something, because you need a gate there anyway.
Okay.
And that
Yeah.
made logical sense based on what's there and exists today.
Yeah, look, that's symmetrically correct as well.
Yeah,
And it would look better too.
right, it would look better, and the reality of it is, well, no, I take it back. I started to say there was a masonry wall all the way down that street side. However, when I asked Ben about, well, is that part of the PUD, he just said no. And so, but it was there, they took it out, so those are, to me, the extenuating circumstances. This seemed to be a good solution.
Yeah.
And Cheryl, I think you said you would agree with that. You, right, right. So if that's still good, that was how it ended up last time, Bobby.
Are you saying, she said
Wrought
wrought iron
Even
instead
better.
instead of brick.
Yeah, okay. So we'll put that into this, if we approve this, we're gonna write that in. Okay? All right,
Perfect. I think it makes sense.
okay. All right,
This one was recommended for approval by the
Yeah.
Planning and Zoning Commission, so there
It's
is
a
not
regular
a
vote.
supermajority.
right, okay. Okay, so, any more discussion before I open a public hearing?
No.
Think we're good? Public hearing is open. I have no card. Cheryl, did you want to talk or not? You're good. Anyone else like to speak on this item? I see no one indicating they want to speak, so I'm going to close the public hearing. Public hearing is closed. So we're ready for a motion, so that motion needs to be careful and clear what we're talking about. So what I just heard, and anybody can correct me if I'm wrong, according to the blue line that Ben showed, blue dotted line, to allow a wrought iron fence there, according to that blue line. Go from that brick fence up to the edge of the house and across over to the house. It could be, of course, a gate there. I'm sure there will be a gate there. That sound right, everybody? Whit, do we need to say any, I mean, this needs to be built into the motion? Right, I think that's clear for the motion, and we'll get the exact language. In the ordinance, okay. Okay, so with that, a motion.
I move adoption of ordinance O-20-2130 with the modification that wrought iron fence be able to adjoin the brick wall and at the corner and go west directly and then connect back south to the back side of the residence.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, I have a motion to approve with those modifications by Councilmember Dodson and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Lindamood. And so, is your vote working now? Okay, so we can vote electronically, I think. Okay, motion's approved, and therefore the ordinance is approved with modification.
And welcome you guys to Colleyville as well. Thanks for
Thank you.
investing in Colleyville, being here.
Okay, so that brings us up to 6E, second reading and public hearing of ordinance O-20-2131, consideration of a special use permit for a fence to extend into the required street side yard on Lot 3, Block 7, Creekside at Colleyville, located at 3509 Balmer Avenue, case ZC 20-016.
All right, so this is the last of the requests for fences to encroach into the street side yard.
Yep.
3509 Balmer. This is just across the street from the last item. I'll go quickly. So here's the area pictometry photos of the site. This is a house that has been completed for a little bit. So again, this was permitted in 2017, completed in 2019, prior to the change in the land development code, but they are requesting to extend their wood fence into the required street side yard setback. Here's an exhibit of the property. I've tried to highlight in green the extent of the fence, but I think the photos will better tell the picture. So here's a photo of the residence itself, and I tried to highlight with the yellow the extent of the request itself. So there is a retaining wall on this side that they are asking to extend the wood fence out to be on top of that retaining wall. There was a question about the height last time. So at the tallest point, which is the very rear, there was a measurement on the plan that showed 3.6 feet. But it gets shorter gradually as you go towards the front of the house. So the 3.6 is the very tallest, and it's at the very back corner. Some additional photos. You can see in that bottom left photo, there are locations already provided where they could easily install a fence. And then closer views. So again, they are only requesting to extend the existing extent out to the top of the retaining wall. Similar exhibits from before, they are requesting a special use permit for this. We did not receive any responses back. Staff recommends denial. However, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval at their meeting on July 13th with a vote of 4-2.
Could you go back to the very first picture I think you showed?
The site exhibit or the house?
No, it had a more elevated picture view.
Oh, yes. Yeah, there you go. This one?
Yes, that's it. Okay, just leave that one up there. Thank you. So we talked about this one at some length last time. And of course, the applicant or owner can speak for themselves. He was concerned about having more space on the side of that patio for a kitchen, outdoor kitchen, I think. Any other comments? I mean, this is very similar to the last one. If not, I'm going to open a public hearing. Public hearing is open. Yes.
It is not working, so I need to project pictures.
Can you email me the picture?
Yeah.
Email it to M.
1 minute.
Mayor, while they're doing that, I know we're in,
Sure.
could you give me just a brief over what you got?
Yeah, so the discussion was very similar to the previous one. The owner, who I'm sure will do again, and the reason I wanted to show this picture is that fence is right at the edge of the patio, just like the house before, behind the house that we
Right.
did. It was the same setup. That fence is right on the patio. They were requesting and were arguing for moving the fence over because they talked about wanting to build an outside kitchen there.
Right.
And I remember, and I said this last time, and I'm sure you'll say the same thing, I'll probably say the same thing, that not having the fence there doesn't stop you from building an outside kitchen, because it could go in the backyard behind the patio.
Right.
But anyway, I'll let you speak.
Amish Patel, 3549 Welmer.
Yeah.
That's my wife, Preeti.
Yeah.
So, Mayor and council members, this last 2 weeks, usually I travel, but I experienced a couple of other different things this time.
Okay.
I'm usually home on Fridays, but this time we had the landscaping company come and mow our yard on Thursdays. And then they came, then I was like, hold on now, because I work from home. And I see a safety issue. If somebody falls and trips, it's almost 42 inches from there. So who will be liable for that if somebody falls, hurts, or injures themselves? Secondly, going back to one, I think if you go to the previous slides that you showed for our previous presentation, that you approved one fence all the way, wooden fence. I almost got an accident today. I don't come through that entrance, but I dropped my son in South Lake, so I was using that entrance to come. Because it's a wooden fence all the way, the person driving and making a right turn, they cannot see. They will make a huge wide turn. And I was almost there. The one that you already approved.
No, we did not approve a
Well,
wooden.
whoever it is, I mean,
Yeah,
somebody
no,
had approved,
but
right?
I want to be very clear.
Yeah, somebody had
This council
approved.
did not approve that fence.
And considering this, what I'm requesting is
Yeah.
there is no view obstruction as well.
Mhm.
That if somebody makes a left turn, it's not going to obstruct or any hazard as far as accident is concerned. So yeah, kitchen, I would love to, that's my amenity that I would like to use. But now we're talking about life safety and hazard.
Yeah.
Who will be responsible for that if somebody falls from that fall? I mean, if if the city tells me that there will be, I don't want to stand here, I'll just go away.
No, it's your land. I mean, the city attorney can correct me, but the landowner is responsible.
So, I mean, that's what I'm requesting, and I'm not requesting anything out of the norm as well. I understand that it's only a partial. I'm not telling to extend all the way that it will obstruct the view. That's why I think if you had the slideshows, I had sent a picture
Yeah.
from the street that if somebody makes a left turn, it's not going to.
You're talking about a fence that goes all the way out. And believe me, you're making our case. That's one reason that shouldn't be built that way. We changed the ordinance in a way to make sure that doesn't happen again. But we never approved that and wouldn't approve that.
That's correct. But, I mean, I feel
Yeah.
unjust right now that I'm discriminated.
Say
And
that
I'm
again.
not even asking the whole thing, I'm just asking just.
I
what
understand.
was
No, I
requested.
understand. You have a limited request. Compared to that, you have a limited request.
And if you see my backyard, you're telling me to put a patio, a grill there?
Mhm.
I only can put a swing there. I don't even have land to use.
I understand.
So I think by this accomplishing, I think we can kill 3 birds in 1 stone. The safety hazard as well, of course my immunity as well, and those pictures will tell you where my gas line is, which only 5 inches from the wooden fence.
Yeah, you said that last time. I didn't quite understand why that
I
was a
sent the
problem.
pictures today.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
but today I almost got into a wreck
Yeah.
because I
So-
couldn't use
so-
that exit.
Yeah, so while he's looking, so let me say this. So, this time you said, hey, I got a fence, I got a wall that's 3.6,
40 inches.
3 feet 6 inches, 3.5 feet tall. And so, so you say, well, couldn't that be a safety issue? Could that be a reason? So let me ask another question. If you moved the fence out the wall, would you put a wrought iron fence there?
All the way?
Yeah, wrought iron fence on a wall.
On the,
No, not all the way, just where you want it.
on the wall, though.
I just want to extend that wooden. I mean,
I know,
it's
but
an
that's
extra
why I'm
cost.
asking, would you do a wrought iron?
Why would I not?
Okay,
Then it's a
then-
privacy
then-
issue too, that I have 4 houses looking all into my.
I asked that for a reason, because we've said in previous meetings that you've heard, I'm sure if you listened to all of them, that we would not approve wooden fence outside of that line. Not gonna, at that time, that's what the council agreed.
No, I understand.
So that's
sir.
why I asked the question.
So here is I will challenge now.
Okay.
So like you said, that the previous council or whoever made a decision, that was not a good decision to approve that wooden fence. So right now, I think this is not a good decision for me because there are 4 homes sitting right across from me. They're literally looking into my patio, into my kitchen, and into my living room and everywhere. It's all exposed. There are 4 homes sitting, and I think as a resident, you should consider this because like that person said, these are dream homes. We spend our fortune here to buy homes, these expensive homes, and contribute to the taxes that we bring
Yeah.
bring to the city. So this small stuff, perhaps that's your preference that you don't want. And again, if you look at the bill line, it's only 15 feet. Like I think he mentioned that it is against the bill line, and I don't think so. I measured I'm not an expert or architect, but if you look at the street and the fence, retaining wall is 15 feet. So is the 15 feet for that home that somebody approved that wooden fence. It's 15 feet.
But I'm missing your point, maybe. I'm sorry, I apologize.
So he was talking about that, the pictures. Yeah, this is 42 inch, like he said, 3.
Yeah, right.
Can I go?
There it is, okay.
So this is 5 inch, sir. This is what I was talking about.
Yeah, but I didn't, you were concerned about that as being a problem. I didn't understand why the gas line is a problem.
How can you put a outdoor kitchen there with the wooden fence there? Wouldn't
Well,
that be a
you
fire
can't
hazard?
right there, but you could run that line down and around behind
Okay,
it there.
now
Yeah.
that's an amenity to me. It's okay. But
Okay.
now the concern is
Yeah.
safety. If somebody falls,
Okay, so your argument, granted, your argument is a safety issue because the wall at one end is 3.5 feet. So that's fine, we'll talk about that. But I asked you, and
I would
so
prefer.
I made the statement, that anybody can disagree with me, please do. If you don't agree with anything I say, please do.
I'm just curious how long he's lived there. Over here, on the right. How long have you lived at this house?
About a year, sir.
How many?
About a year and a
Yeah.
half.
And you're not the original owner, is that correct?
I am.
You are the
Yeah.
original owner?
Yes.
Right.
But the fence was in place when you moved in?
Correct.
You bought it like that
Yeah,
already,
Yep.
yeah,
knowing that that fence was there, okay.
yeah. Yeah, so I'll finish your thoughts.
So let me,
No,
if
so
you
let me-
mind, if you find, so let me add to that, sir.
Okay,
You are correct, it was there, but before buying that home, I had come to the city and says I was told this, that's why I bought into that land, or that house, is technically my fence line, I can go all the way into below the retaining wall, all the way to the sidewalk.
Who are you referring to as the city?
I came to the city, sir, and I was told that
Staff or?
staff.
Okay.
Yeah.
You remember who you talked to? No?
I didn't expect that I would end up here.
Well, I don't want to put the words in anybody else's mouths either, but if it would have been a year ago, it would have been us. All
No,
of
no,
us.
not here, I went to
Okay.
the city.
But if it would have went to
pe-
staff, staff would have came to us, and we would have said the exact same thing that we're saying now, and staff knows what our ordinances
Sure.
are. And so it's hard, I'm not, it's just hard to see that somebody had said that you could go ahead and put it out on the wall.
No, I'm not saying that, sir. Technically, I can put a wrought iron fence all the way down, that's what I was told.
Okay. Okay.
so I'm trying to,
I think, do you
Work.
think maybe that they were trying to say that he could put it all the way down towards the front of the home, like in the last case?
yeah, I'm
Extend it
not
further.
sure. See where this fence is offset from the house a little bit?
Right.
That could extend all the way down, but it would be right up next to the house.
But I'm wondering if you were thinking that they said that you could build it onto the wall, is that what
Not
you're saying?
the wooden fence, wrought iron.
Yeah.
All the-
Yeah.
Below the retaining wall, where there's a sidewalk is there, technically I can build it over there.
No, that
No
never
one
has,
would have agreed to that.
never has been, even before the ordinance
I
changed,
was
that
told
was
that,
not
sir,
possible.
I don't know. So-
Yeah, but no, that was not
Yeah.
possible, not possible.
And I would not do build anyways, because it's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
safety hazard because of the retaining wall, anybody can trip.
Yeah.
So I would, even if it's approved, I would not do it.
Yeah, but I'm trying to really come up with, even though I've said everything I've said, I'm trying to come up with the most logical argument that you got. And you got a wall that's 3.5 feet. Now, is that a safety issue or not? Question. 4 foot would be. But I also said, this council has said, we're not going to approve a wooden fence outside of that fence line. Not gonna happen. So I ask you, would you put a wrought iron fence out there at the wall? Just where you asked, and you said no.
So can I say something, sir?
Sure.
You said fence line, what do you mean by that? That 15 feet build line, is that what you're thinking?
The build line.
Show me, Ben, or Mark, whoever's running, give me a picture where I can point out what I'm talking about. There. Well, no, that's not this house, right?
Yeah, it is.
Well, it's
That's his
equivalent
house.
though, huh?
It's his house.
This
It is.
Mine.
Oh, this your house? Okay.
Yeah.
So ask me now that we're looking at this picture, ask that again. I wasn't sure what you
So
were
you were
asking.
saying the fence line, I didn't get that part, what is this?
Well, see where the green, so that's your green fence right now, correct?
Mhm.
And Ben, that's legal, right?
That's the build line.
Oh, that's the idea, that's
No, the
proposed.
green is what he wants.
Oh, excuse me, that's not where it's at, right? Your current fence is, yeah, it's slightly off the house, but it's at the build line. Sure, your current fence is at the build line, correct, Ben?
Is that
Okay.
15 feet from that?
Got it.
That is wrong, sir. The retaining wall is 15 feet.
But that's,
No, no, it's not 50.
I'm not sure what the wall is.
Yes, sir,
We measured today.
So
Okay.
there's two different lines that we're
Okay.
talking about. Your property line actually is not the same as the curb line.
Correct, right.
And so in this case, it looks to be about a 5-foot gap between the curb and the property line.
Property line,
Property line starts.
yeah.
So it's, from the curb, the retaining wall probably is 15
Yeah.
feet, but that means it's only 10 feet from the property line.
Right, 10 feet, yeah. Right, which is what you have,
But the
Mark.
dotted line, Ben, right outside of the structure,
Yeah,
that's not highlighted in the color is the build line. Is that correct? Yeah.
For the fence.
So your current fence is on your build line.
no, the dotted brown is the
No,
wall,
that's the
stone
retaining
wall.
wall.
Mayor, in between there and the house. There's
See,
a
there's a
small
little
faint
dotted line, really faint.
I see, yes,
Yep.
That's the line.
Yeah, okay, make sure we're on the
That's
same
correct.
page. So there's a
That's
very
correct.
faint
That's the
line
build-
he's
that's
drawing
the
with
build line.
the arrow.
Yeah,
That's your build line.
That's
That's
your
why the
build
fence
line.
is on
That's the
that
6
line.
inch or whatever you're
Right.
saying, right? 5 or 6 inches.
right.
We have a picture, like, we have 3-4.
No, this is, but that's the build line per the plan,
Yeah,
not just from a measurement from a picture. Yeah.
yeah, which means you can build a fence on the build line. That's what which is where your current fence is.
So I'm confused here. I mean, you guys are architects and all that, but as a normal citizen, again, that home comes into because I feel discriminated here. I measured, it's 15 feet from the retaining wall to that
Correct.
home mine, and from retaining wall to the, let's say his wall, okay, house wall on the side, that's about 4 to 5 feet, which is exactly mine.
No, yeah, no, but the 15 feet you're talking about is from the curb to the retaining wall.
Correct.
But that's not from your property line. So we deal in how ordinances are written. And so I don't disagree with you, from the curb line, probably 15 feet, but it's 10 feet from your property line. So, but I'm not sure what your point is on that.
Yeah,
I want to go back to the question, so I want to ask the question one more time. If you were allowed to put a wrought iron fence where that green line is on the wall, would you do that or not?
I would prefer wood fence. And my other question was, does the wrought iron fence go all the way on the retaining wall
No,
to the front?
no, just where, no.
So the,
So your answer is no.
okay, so here is another, and the reason I asked is, again, this is discrimination. There are a lot of homes from Mainview, they are approved that way, that the wrought iron fence on the side goes all the way till the front. This is as recent as
I will.
few months.
Well, I respectfully disagree there's any discrimination here because we're pointing out exactly what we told everybody. And that's exactly one reason I keep asking the question I ask you, and you keep giving me an answer no. If I'm
So
hearing
why,
you.
so Mayor, why has the wrought iron fence approved all the way then, on the retaining wall?
Because in that other case, the extenuating circumstances, the wall was taller, and the house behind it had a wrought iron fence exactly the
There
same.
is no house behind it.
No, this other one that you keep referring to that we
No, no,
approved,
I'm
the one
talking
that
about
we
the wrought
approved.
wrought iron.
I'm saying you talked about us approving one, and I've said before, we did approve one. And I told you the reasons we approved it. I thought that's what you were asking me. Now, the other thing, the reason I say it's no discrimination going on here is you have a lovely home and a lovely lot, lovely subdivision, but you chose to buy it. Nothing has changed about the lot, nothing has changed about the yard, nothing has changed about the fence since you did that. So you made that decision, not us.
Understood, but okay, sir, I go and we look into the detail of, okay, how is going, the home inside. But whoever approved here, should they not have considered about the safety about this plot before even approving? That, okay, what about this 3.5 feet? I mean,
And I've said, safety is a consideration.
And I think that, I'm not trying to speak for the mayor, but I can speak for myself and say, I think what he's trying to ask you is that if safety is your top concern, would you be willing to put a wrought iron fence on that green line that you've discussed putting a fence to protect yourselves if you're concerned about the safety, and then you can put screening on the inside and use that extra space? I would support something like that. I would not support a wood fence being extended. But if safety is your concern, that is the way that I would personally support that.
Agree.
By screening
so
like some plants.
is 2 feet not considered hazardous?
Pardon?
Is 2 feet not considered hazardous?
No, so you're being told what we would do. not gonna let this discussion go on all night because we have many more agenda items. So
Okay.
our kids can't afford to. And so I will call for a vote soon. And you heard, she's basically saying what I was getting at.
Okay,
You good or not?
So I have another, okay, that's fine, but this is approved. I don't want this to change 2 years, 3 years down the road if I plan to do that time.
Once your special use permit is approved, it stays with the property, in this case, correct?
Okay.
Yes.
I just want to know that, okay.
Yeah, because what'll happen, this requires a special use permit, so this is going outside, this is going against the zoning ordinance. And so we're saying, hey, there's some reason, and in this case, what we would say, what we've been alluding to is you said, hey, it's 3.5 feet, that's safety to me. Fine, if that's a safety issue, that would be the reason we would be willing to do it. We've said we're not willing to put any wood fences out there, not aesthetically pleasing, not the quality that we want in the city. We would, for safety reasons, allow wrought iron fence where that green line is. And so that's what I kept asking you, but to kind of open up that option.
Sure.
But one point is, if you put it out there, you're also going to have a wrought iron fence from the current wood fence out to that wrought iron fence.
Yeah.
The wood is going to have to stop at the build line.
Yes.
I'm confused. What is
The back
So,
line.
so in this picture right here, see where that green line is?
Yeah.
At the back, right there where that arrow is, it goes, that wrought iron's gonna go over there a little bit. And we required this of other people in these approvals, where there's no wood outside the build line, it's wrought iron.
The wood on your back fence
Yeah.
has to stop at the build line.
Sure,
Then you would have to put wrought iron out to it, then
Yeah.
wrought iron
got it.
Right,
north,
right.
and then back into the house.
And you can use plants or stuff like that to use for screening on the inside of the fence if you're worried about privacy.
Yeah.
Sure.
So that's what I'm hearing a couple of council members saying they go for it. Everybody has to vote, but I'm kind of ready to go to that vote.
How high is that? I don't know. How high would that be? 6 feet?
6 feet
6
if you
feet.
want, sure.
6?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just asking.
6 feet standard, pretty standard.
All right, thank you.
It would match your
Yeah.
wood fence that way. The same height as your wood fence, so it'd look nice.
I think it is.
Now, how far
Right
right? Like the green, okay, so we'll approve
Yes.
what the green says, is that
Yes.
Scale.
what you understand, sir?
Well, that's what we're talking
Okay,
about.
we're talking about this green line
Right.
Yeah,
being wrought iron.
yeah.
Right.
And the reason I
Okay.
keep saying, well, I'll take it back. We're gonna, if this gets approved, the ordinance is gonna be written that requires that being wrought iron, just like it's been discussed. Now, I guess if you didn't wanna do that, you could leave the wooden fence there because it's in compliance.
Okay.
But we're going out of our way to do that, so you haven't yet said you're happy with that. But
I am,
you-
sir. I said.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
That's all I need to know.
Reference to the timing, though, there is
Yeah.
now sunset provision in our special uses.
Yes,
So I
right.
believe it's 12 months. Okay. So
Yeah.
there is a period of time within which you must act.
Yeah,
If you waited a year
Yeah.
before you decided to do this could
it'd
expire.
go away, yeah.
So I think it's 12 months. So from the approval, you have 12 months to do that. If you don't
Yeah.
do that, it can expire and go away. That was to your question earlier about
Yeah.
what happens in a couple of
Okay.
years.
Okay,
Once
good to
you
know
know
that,
you're-
yeah.
Yeah.
So does the person who does this fence, do they have to get a permit? Okay.
I have a question on the rear part of the property that's going to also need to be extended. Is that going to be wood or wrought iron?
Wrought iron.
Wrought iron.
Okay.
That's what we were just
Well, I was just
discussing.
making sure because right here it shows, 2 sides here, but it'll be a third side on the back that needs to
It
be.
has to be in the back too,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I closed the public hearing, didn't I? No. Or did I? No? Okay. Public hearing is closed. I didn't ask. Anybody else want to speak? I'll open it back up if you do. See no one wanting to speak, so I close public hearing. So motion's not in order.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance O-20-2131 according with site exhibit that's being shown to where the green line is made with the metal fence that is conducive with the surrounding metal fences, the same type fence.
Great point, because we did require that before.
Yes.
The only thing I'd request you add to that is any fence outside the build line must be wrought iron according to that stipulation, because there's a little piece in the back that's not on that green.
Correct.
I just say
Right.
that.
Right, let's just add that in.
Okay,
On 3 sides, it has to be
yeah,
wrought iron.
wrought iron.
The continuous on the back side of the fence should be in wrought iron, and
Yeah.
along the green line should be in wrought iron. That is
Yeah,
similar to the surrounding wrought iron fences that are in the
Right.
subdivision.
Great.
yes.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion to approve by the Mayor Pro Tem, requiring that the fence outside the building line be wrought iron of similar design as the other wrought iron fences in that neighborhood. They all seem to be the same, and a second by Councilmember Rigney. Mr. City Attorney, did all that make sense to you? Do you know how to write that exception into the ordinance? Got it? Okay, very good, thank you.
Do you need to say with the posts on the wall? I guess that's what it represents, I think.
Yeah, so, Mr. City Attorney, when you write that, I would, we've done that in the
Yeah.
past. There's a retaining wall there, and we're intending for, that green line is really, since this
Where the posts.
We could just
Yeah.
say that it sets on the green.
is on the retaining wall, yeah,
Yeah.
Using the holes that were posts are
Yeah.
supposed to,
Yeah.
are
Yes.
designated already.
yeah,
Right.
or on
Something
it,
like
you
that,
know.
yeah.
I don't know if the poles are in the right place or not, but
Yeah.
it's on the wall.
Anyway, it needs to be on the
He's
wall.
got it, he'll write it
He's got
right,
it.
and
Okay.
before I sign it, I'm gonna read it carefully. Okay, we got there. Okay, we got to a solution, not exactly what you wanted, but it's better than what you got. All right, so we're ready to vote. I guess we can do it electronically again. Okay, that motion is approved, therefore the ordinance is approved with the changes we discussed. Very good.
Thank you,
You're
Mr.
welcome.
Patel.
We're done. Cheryl, we won't see you again, right? Okay. You're welcome back anytime.
Yeah, good night.
Okay. All right, so that brings us up to agenda item 6F, which is second reading and public hearing of ordinance O-20-2132, consideration of amendments to Chapter 2, Section 2.5 definitions, Chapter 3, Section 3.24B, schedule of permitted principal uses, and Chapter 3, Section 3.24C, special land use standards of the Land Development Code, specifically for the inclusion of massage therapy as a land use and for regulations associated with the massage therapy use.
All right, thank you. As you stated, this amendments to the Land Development Code specific for massage therapy uses. So just as a review, these are the definitions that we will be adding to Chapter 2, which is our chapter for definitions. So we'll have massage therapy licensed, massage therapy unlicensed, massage therapy establishment, and then reflexology. Within the schedule of permitted principal uses, these are currently lumped under our use of barber shops, beauty shops, and day spas.
Yeah.
So we will actually strike day spas and just create a new use called massage therapy, both licensed and unlicensed. And you can see what we've proposed is a special use permit requirement in our CC1, CC2, and CC3 zoning districts. And then this slide identifies the proposed regulations associated with these types of uses. The main item of conversation last time was related to our distance requirement. We are proposing a 300-foot separation between all of these similar type uses. We did have an exception written in where if there were individual buildings in a shopping center, each building could have one regardless of the distance. However, that was asked to be stricken. I kept it in there just identifying that it is now proposed to be stricken out. The 300-foot can be modified with any special use permit request, and I think everybody was comfortable with that.
Mhm.
And otherwise, these uses, whether they have a special use permit, whether they go through that process or if they are an existing business at the time of this adoption, if there are any changes to those uses, whether it's the name of the business, an owner, or if they've expanded the use, in any of those situations, they will have to go through this special use permit process for approval.
Okay.
And so In the case that we have an existing business, if they do any of those changes, they will have to go through this process. Where it's a brand-new business, they will go through the special use permit process to begin with, but then in the future, if they make any changes, they will have to come back
Yeah.
to modify that special use permit. Staff does recommend approval, as does the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Okay. So your last point kind of addresses the concern that some had that, well, existing business would be very onerous to have to go through every single person, but if they're here, they don't have to unless they make any one of those changes, then they're gonna come back.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Any other questions for Ben?
Nope.
If not, then I'm gonna open the public hearing. Public hearing is open. I do have a card. Kathy Hadley.
Kathy Hadley, 204 Timberline Drive North, represent myself. I think this is fantastic. I'm really pleased that this is coming to Colleyville. I am in full support of this.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's all the cards I have. Anyone else wish to speak on this item? I see no one indicating that, so I'm going to close the public hearing. Public hearing is closed. Motion's in order.
I'll move to approve ordinance O-20-2132.
I'll
A sec.
second.
Have a motion to approve by Councilmember Kelly and a second by Councilmember Rigney. Very good. Okay, would you open the vote, please? May show it when you have it. Motion's approved, therefore the ordinance is approved. Thank you. Okay, we'll move to 7A. 7A and 7B are tabled, so we need to do a motion to take 7A off the table.
I move that we remove ordinance O-20-2111 off the table.
I'll second.
Have a motion to move ordinance O-20-2111 off the table by Councilmember Dodds and a second by Councilmember Wheat. You want me to vote, you want to vote electronically or manually, Chris? Okay, so we'll vote. Councilmember Dodson, how you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly?
Aye.
Councilmember Rigney?
Aye.
Councilmember Nakamura?
Aye.
Councilmember Linwood?
Aye.
Councilmember Wheat?
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. So the ordinance is off the table. Now we can talk about it.
Do you want to take the second item off the table as well?
Pardon?
You want to take the second item off the table as well, related?
Yeah, we can do that. So can I have a motion to take ordinance O-20-2112 off the table?
I'll make a motion to take ordinance O-20-2112 off the table.
Okay.
I'll
I second.
Have a motion to take ordinance O-20-2112 off the table by Councilmember Wheat and
Damn it.
second by Councilmember Nakamura. Councilmember Kelly, how do you vote on that motion?
Aye.
Councilmember Rigney?
Aye.
Councilmember Nakamura?
Aye.
Councilmember Lindemood?
Aye.
Councilmember Wheat?
Aye.
Mayor Newton votes aye. Councilmember Dodson.
Aye.
Okay, ordinance O-20-2112 is off the table. All right, you're free to talk.
Yes, thank you. So this is in relation to the Bluebonnet Hills Cemetery. Here's an aerial map of the property. This would be in relation to finishing out the last area for burial sites at their location. It's on the north side of Hall Johnson Road. It currently has agricultural zoning. Our
Ben, I should have given a little bit of introduction for people that may be watching on TV, because these have been on the table for a couple of weeks. These two ordinances have to do with the Bluebonnet Cemetery. One's a zoning case, and one's has to do with mausoleums. And so there was a number of residents adjacent to this had questions and concerns, and so there's been a number, I've forgotten how many, a number of meetings between the residents and the city and Bluebonnet representatives to try to come up with solutions to those issues, which had to do with drainage and site distance and a number of things like that. And so we're taking it off the table tonight because it appears that there's now, based on the last meetings with the residents and everyone, that there may be a solution that's pretty close enough to take it off the table and talk about it and find out. So I just want to let people know that's watching that hasn't watched previous meetings.
So with your permission, I think I'll just get to the crux of it then. We do have a zoning and a special use permit under consideration. As far as, like what you were just referring to, there has been a lot of conversation, and so what I will be presenting tonight hopefully is a very big step in the right direction to where we can all be comfortable with the proposal. So I've identified some of the changes from the previous plan first, and really these setbacks. The first item is with setbacks. It's not that much different, but just to clarify and verify, there will be a 25-foot setback for any and all improvements as far as grave sites. The exception is that drainage improvements and landscaping would be authorized within that 25-foot setback. And then secondarily, no private mausoleum or crypt shall be allowed within 100 feet of Hall Johnson Road and the entire eastern boundary shared with the Broughton subdivision.
Excuse me, Ben.
Yes.
Why wouldn't it also be, I think they also talked about 100 feet from the north, those two north properties.
Yes, that's what I meant with the,
But this doesn't say that.
Well, that's still Broughton
It
subdivision.
says the eastern, it also should say with all,
Oh, yeah.
between all the boundaries.
Yes, correct, correct.
I can make sure that that's clarified.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, I'll get to an exhibit to highlight that.
And on the wall, you have 22 feet screening wall.
Yes, so I'll get to that. I know what you're saying. So with the drainage, there is some improvements that they're proposing onto the north side of Lot 21, and I have an exhibit to kind of share what they're proposing. But then along the rest of the eastern boundary, what I'm calling the eastern boundary, it'll be directed to the south and then tie into the existing drainage system within the Broughton subdivision or addition there to the south side adjacent to Hall Johnson. There is an existing swale that they will then clean and maintain. So it'll be cleaned and maintained by the cemetery as well. With a screening wall and landscaping, they are proposing an 8-foot wall, a minimum of, I put 23 feet, 22 feet I think is the correct number. We didn't have the exhibits that showed the exact, and so it's definitely no closer than 22 feet to the east property line. There is one exception, that's when it's adjacent to Lot 21. That's where their maintenance area is, and there really is no setback that they can push the wall into their property. But in that case, they will replace the existing wood fence there on that boundary with the 8-foot wall, masonry wall. And then they are also proposing 6 trees, 1 overstory tree for each residential home that is adjacent to the cemetery.
Real quick comment, on that lot 21, there has been commentary from the homeowner that he may want to leave his fence and still allow for the wall to be constructed.
Right.
So we talked about that.
Yeah, okay.
But the wall does have to be constructed in the entire,
Yeah, the wall's
Length.
required by the code anyway.
Right.
The question was whether or not the wall would be in place of his fence, remove the fence, place the wall. And the last conversation, he expressed interest in being able to choose to leave his fence and have the wall on the backside of it. So
whatever has to be done. Yeah, whatever has to be done.
As far as regulations maintained from the previous plan, all spoils will have to be stored in the cemetery's maintenance area. And then there is also a 3-foot iron tubular fence along Hall Johnson with a 3-foot hedgerow, as agreed upon with the subdivision across Hall Johnson. And then there were other agreements that were made with each of the nearby subdivisions, which have been added to the ordinance as well.
Why is the height of the fence so low, 3 foot? Is it because it's on a retaining wall?
I think that's a part of it, but it also matches the existing height as you go closer to Colleyville Boulevard. So here's the revised zoning exhibit. And so this is the 25-foot setback area. I do need to mention there is, because of that maintenance area as it turns to the very far north, there's no grave sites there, but that's the maintenance area, so there would not be a 25-foot setback there. However, the 100-foot setback for the crypts, above-ground crypts, will extend up to the north where it can.
Okay, great.
And on that north end, there are actually graves within, I would say, 10 feet of the fence existing. That's why the 25-foot doesn't apply here.
Right.
All right, and then the applicant has provided some cut sheet elevations for the proposal. And so they are proposing an 8-foot wall within the 25-foot setback, so it's 22 feet. We'll say 22 feet is the closest dimension. This is, if you look on the top left, it shows where this is looking from. So this is closest to Hall Johnson. And you can see they have modified the intent as far as bringing in and changing the grade on the cemetery site. It is much closer to the existing grade rather than trying to level that out. But you can see the 8-foot wall as well as the one tree that would be also planted adjacent to that residence. The 3-foot swale will be on the inside of the wall, and so that wall will actually help make sure that most, if not all of that drainage will stay within that 3-foot new channel.
Yes.
And take it to the south. However, you can see the existing swale up closer to the property line. That's the swale that they will clear and maintain to make sure it's also functioning.
I have a question on this diagram. It says minimum of 10 foot, that the wall that's built will be a minimum of 10 foot above the grade of those houses.
That's right.
So if they need to make the wall higher, they'll do that, or they'll build the land up?
Yeah, they would more likely build the land
Build the
up to
land
make
up,
sure
yeah.
that they get the
Right,
8-foot
okay.
wall. Yeah.
I just want to make sure this is part of the, that this is maintained as part of the record.
Yes, these exhibits will be part of the ordinance.
Okay,
They are-
And that's at section AA.
I understand.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then this will be moving north to section BB. Again, they are changing grade just a little bit, but very minimal. They will again have that 10-foot minimum height from the property line. The channel is on the inside of the wall. And then as we continue to move forward to the north, you can see there is less grading that they have to perform to accommodate those minimums. This one is as it turns around behind the two northernmost lots. They actually will be only building up just, looks like about half a foot in order to accommodate the drainage.
I apologize.
Yeah.
Can I interrupt you a second? Just in reference to your comment that you asked about the elevation, if you notice go back to AA real quick. If you notice, the elevation that's provided is not on the property line. And so in some of these cases, in all these cases, as you go further east, the elevation drops even further. So,
But it will be at the property line
Yes.
of 10 feet.
Yes, but what I'm saying is, the property line
Yep.
is the 10-foot, and so
Right.
it'll be at least 10 foot. I'm arguing in most of these, it would be, this particular case, it'd be at least that, it could be more.
Okay, the numbers that I saw didn't look like they were, but,
You see the 638.5,
yeah,
and that's the elevation that's not quite at the property line, and then you see the 648.5 is top of the wall. That's the 10 feet. But my argument.
Oh, I got it.
My argument
Yeah.
is 638.5 isn't the property line.
okay.
The property line's even further east, and then
Yeah.
as you go east, the property drops off. You
Okay.
can see it a little bit more on the north end.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you for clarification.
Sorry.
And then they did add an additional EE, but again, very similar to the others. They will be able to maintain the 10-foot as they build up a little bit. And
When it's built, just a question, and that's just for information. when they're building up to get to the wall, isn't it gonna force the water south? What'll happen?
Since, well,
Yeah, I think excuse me again, I'm sorry. Vic.
Yeah.
The misconception here is that EE is at the end of the cul-de-sac.
I know.
And it's relatively flat there.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go a little bit further north into the corner is where it has that drop-off.
Big drop off.
The wall, though, is to be placed at the 22 feet. It's actually at the high point before the drop-off. So the wall's at the highest point. So the water that will fall is the additional, 22 feet between the back of the wall, east will fall, and that will be collected in the existing swale that's there now. So the existing swale that now is carrying all the water that's tributary will only carry that last 22 feet. But to answer your question, that's why this EE exhibit, which I think you had asked for, because you wanted to see that grade in the corner.
Right, right.
It doesn't really show that because it's not the corner. The corner grade, I think we measured it about 3.7 feet difference.
Right, yeah, it's quite a bit different.
Yeah, it's fairly pronounced, but it's really strange that it levels off as you go south pretty quick.
Yep.
That's why you don't see much grade here.
Okay, thank you.
who's gonna maintain the new trees?
The cemetery will.
Okay, so they're gonna water over the wall, or are they gonna put a sprinkler system in, or can't really dig into where all those existing trees are to put in a pipe?
That's good. I was gonna bring that up too, Bobby.
Well, the existing trees right now that are on the cemetery's property are being watered by the homeowner association.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, that's an interesting challenge because they've already been irrigating that now for years. I would expect that anything on the east side of the wall would have to be irrigated because there's gonna have to be some type of cover there anyway to establish that slope. And so, and to clean when you clean the ditch. And so there may have to be some discussion as to how you irrigate those trees. I would think the homeowners wouldn't pull the irrigation from the trees, but there may be a duplicative design as part of that, for sure.
Now, my recommendation would be that the cemetery would have to do the irrigation.
Yeah, and warranty
Based on-
and everything else.
Yeah, right.
Especially on the new trees, that's the
But
big deal.
But you can see it's not just the
Others
trees,
are
it's also,
established.
especially with.
Yeah, some ground cover.
Ground cover too.
Yeah,
And so that ground cover's gonna have to have irrigation.
sure.
Yeah, with that ground cover and the trees, the flow is gonna be very minimal. The hydraulics that are gonna go in the old ditches, it's not gonna be much.
Which is good because the old ditch has a lot of roots exposed because it's,
Yeah, I saw that.
washed away. And so this will allow it to be restored to more natural, less obvious drainage ditch. And so it'll still accommodate the need, but won't cause any damage to those trees. So
Right.
that's why the digging of the new swale with the concrete base on the west side of the wall is definitely the way to go.
Which is a great idea.
All right, so these were some numbers presented as far as the water rates that they were going to collect and direct to the correct locations. You can see with the adjustments that they are proposing, they will be able to dramatically improve the drainage, especially in the northern areas. They'll be able to, through the systems that they're going to be installing, they'll be able to direct the water further north to not impact that house directly adjacent on the far north, and then everything else will be directed to the south appropriately.
That goes into their pond, their retaining pond.
You back up one more, DD, real quick. Because this is an important point. DD is the far north end,
Oh,
and so, go back to your drainage, I'm sorry. Do you have the one that shows the green?
Yes.
That one, next one? Yeah, the owner on lot 21, which is Mr. Terry, is the one we just talked about with the fence. You notice his wall would be on the property line or close to it, whereas the others south of him would be 25 feet back. There's a question about whether or not the fence would continue to connect those. Blue Bonnet indicated they'd be willing to do that. Mr. Terry asked that might be a good spot for a break at the back corner of his lot before it gets to the wall to allow for a tree to be protected that's there that he finds very valuable. And the reason why I think that's important, if you go back to the drainage one previous, the reason why that doesn't seem to be as big of an issue is you can see there's a tributary break anyway.
Mhm.
And so that break is at that corner.
Yeah.
So it's a minor grading issue that if that opening was left there to provide Blue Bonnet for access anyway, probably wouldn't be a bad compromise as far as that goes. Either be a gate or to be just open and allow for,
Or flow.
yeah. But you can see the water coming to that point is easily diverted. That was a question that came up about the water once that wall was not continued.
I guess they know how much water they're fixing to catch in that pond with all those CFS go rolling, the new ones.
Yes.
Okay.
So really, those are the changes. So in summary, they are proposing the 8-foot wall, 22 feet from the property line. They are proposing one new overstory tree per adjacent residence. And then with the swales that will be constructed, they will be able to adequately capture and direct the water to fix some of the existing drainage issues that were expressed.
One of the exhibits that may come later on this issue, to clarify, on lot 21, that yellow line goes all the way to the north lot line. Clearly, the wall may
Has to
not.
go farther.
Because currently, there's a fence there now, a wood fence, and some of Mr. Terry's property actually kind of jogs over a little bit to the west. And so there's a question of whether or not, if he leaves his wood fence, if then we continue to have the wood fence from the cemetery, but then have some type of a concrete minimal wall to divert the stormwater, but not necessarily an 8-foot. That has yet to be determined based upon how it would look. Mr. Terry was concerned about having a concrete wall on one of his 3 sides, or a masonry wall when he has wood on the other 2. So, once you get to the front of the house, again, having a wall that sticks out 15 feet may look strange. And so, when the continuation of it is the wood fence that's currently maintained by the cemetery. So, there may be some diversion of the water through some type of, smaller wall, but not necessarily the full masonry wall, just because it may look strange.
Are you saying it's going to run parallel north and south, or you say it's going to turn and actually go a little east?
It kind of turns right now and goes a little west. It's kind of strange.
Well, I mean the new one.
It kind of goes west, it goes around a little bit, and then it comes out on the side of their front yard, and that's where they have major drainage problems.
Terrible.
This will
Okay.
continue
Yeah.
even further north, so before it turns onto the cul-de-sac, it'll actually go into the association property, no longer on their property.
Yeah, so it's going west on his, but east from, I was talking about the little wall, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's strange, when you follow that yellow line up north right now, when it gets to that fence, it actually turns. And the reason I think it turned is because Mr. Terry's property has a notch out, and they were probably avoiding that. But whether it continues straight or continues wraps around, the idea is to continue to divert the water further north than it is
Yeah.
now.
Get it away from his house, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. One thing you didn't mention, Ben, was the mausoleum that's currently there. I believe the cemetery talked about potentially moving that.
So I actually don't have an answer for that, but the applicant is here and can.
Okay,
Yeah, and they said it is not currently utilized, but that's something they can talk about.
understand.
And it is a 3-story, and that probably represents, there's a question about height as well. That probably represents the maximum height they would see on mausoleums on that site as well.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Because some of the residents were also talking about a maximum height. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ben.
The 100-foot setback addresses that. So there's some reasonableness that's to be applied, but certainly a 30-foot structure would be a problem. So there's a reasonableness that says, what is it normally? That represents the 3-story.
Mm-hmm.
So it could have 6 individual crypts, I guess. And so that one, I think, is only like 10 feet high, so probably 12 feet is a reasonable maximum. But again, the applicant
Good.
comments from our discussion again.
Good.
And that's all I have for my presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Ben?
Not yet.
Okay. Did the applicant want to speak?
Mayor, member of council, thank y'all very much for obliging me for a moment.
Sure.
First off, my name is Patrick Husband. I'm here on behalf of Bluebonnet. I'd like to start off by
Could you
thanking
state your address, please, technicality?
3723 Pinecone Trail, Pasadena, Texas.
Okay, thank you.
I want to start off by thanking Mr. Duque and his staff, as well as the homeowners that are here from Broughton that have helped work together. This has been a long process that we've worked towards, and I think we finally got to a place where it's going to be a win-win for everyone. Here to answer any questions that I could. Councilmember Dodson, you had a question about potential mausoleums. I'd be glad to answer that if you'd like me to.
Sure.
So the existing building, we are amenable to moving the existing building outside of the 100-foot setback, so that will not be an issue.
Okay.
Any other questions that I could answer for council?
And I think they also had, at least I heard, some of the residents asking about, would you be amenable to a maximum height for mausoleums?
Yes, sir. If we would like to put something of that in the ordinance, we would be amenable to nothing higher than 25 feet maximum roof line.
25 feet?
That would give us the opportunity, if outside of the 100-foot setback of the mausoleum, out of the 100-foot above-ground crypts from the 100-foot property line,
Do you currently have structures, mausoleums that are that high?
we do on the front on, I apologize, I don't know
It's
the.
okay, closer to the 26 side.
would-
There's some larger ones there, yeah.
So there is no guarantee that we would build something like that at this time. We would just like the opportunity should it arise.
I have a question for you. There's already a masonry wall there. Are you going to make the other one match it? You're not going to go with like a bright orange or anything like that, right?
So we are amenable to meeting with the homeowners as well, showing staff samples of a split-face CMU wall. And I even spoke to Mrs. Russell this evening about showing them some samples. And we talked about potentially like a dark brown.
Something
Excuse me, a
that
dark red, I apologize.
it goes along with what's already there.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Kind of like orange.
Any other questions?
And we were talking about maintaining the trees as far as watering that and the ground cover. Are you guys going to take that on?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. Easy enough.
That needs to be in the resolution. Yeah.
Yeah. So including irrigation in that 25 feet area?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay.
Don't
Anything
have
else?
anything
Excellent.
Mayor, just
Yeah.
some of the things that were brought up before that I believe we talked about, but they need to be reiterated, is that there was a question about the continuation of the concrete swale all the way to the south.
Yes.
And then turning
Yep. Yep.
onto the HOA property.
Yeah.
All seemed amenable to that, and so that was more an HOA issue. I believe they had already required that as part of their agreement, and so it's, instead of having that settlement basin with the riprap, it would just be a continuation turn. That would be designed by, approved by the engineering department. But
Yeah.
that seems to be what all the parties are acknowledging would exist on the north as it turns southbound, and on the south where it turns east.
Yeah, and I think the HOs, in one of the meetings, HOA said that they were going to build kind of a cement
Yes,
down to the pond. Okay,
that's my understanding as well.
okay.
Our question was, how did that tie in?
Right,
Before there was a riprap settlement area
right.
at the south end,
And it just stopped
But,
there.
yeah,
It just,
continue on the concrete
yes.
ground.
So that needs to be shown in here. Or
Yes.
Yes,
And also that concrete channel also now has continued to the north, because it used to stop south of the cul-de-sac. It's now north.
Yes.
And also travels west.
yeah,
So that design is now.
There has to be- has to be
all the
a-
way down. So, right, so it starts from that southwest corner of lot 21. It
Right.
travels east, turns south, goes all the way down to the south of Pastor Tejada's lot.
right,
Turn
and
east.
turns east, and then ultimately finds way at the pond.
right. So,
There's also a provision for dredging funds
yeah,
privately between the parties of the HOA.
yeah. So right here to the west of lot 21, where there's, so there's going to be a concrete footing that the wall sits on.
Yes, sir.
And is it going to be, there's just going to be grass up to that point?
Yes, sir, because you have grass up there now. And I've also, on the WebEx that we had with the homeowners,
Yeah,
I spoke to Mr. Terry, which is the Lot 21 homeowner.
Right.
And told him that I would personally work with him so we could make sure whatever was put there as a structure was amenable to him as well.
yeah. Okay, and there's a concrete little footing there now that's
Yes,
going to be replaced?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay.
It's clearly not structural.
Right,
It's wide
yeah,
enough, but
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I know, so, so the tree got to go.
Well, the tree, you may be able to chisel out the concrete without harming the tree, but you're gonna have to pour a footing for the new location.
Yeah,
So no matter what, you could bridge
Doesn't make
It's- trees
sense.
go- Yeah, well, the tree's gotta go if you gotta put a concrete foundation there.
Yes, what I'm saying is engineering can do anything, but I agree.
I don't buy that. I don't buy that.
Sounds like you could end up killing the tree.
Well, the tree survived encased in concrete.
Oh, that's
Okay.
true. But this has gotta be a structural wall. That means
Sure.
they gotta dig down a little bit to pour
That
it.
was our discussion with Mr. Terry, because this fence is encased in it
Yes.
as well. And we said, that concrete that's there now either has to be cut
Right,
and leave a fence on it, 'cause it's structurally fine for its fence.
yeah,
And a new footing put in with a new wall, or the whole thing has to come out. Put
Right,
the footing
right.
that Wolf would be utilizing.
right,
Leave it for his fence, and
Yeah.
then use the other like a brick ledge for the wall. He thought both were reasonable. The issue is you can't go much further west because there is a grade
Yeah.
within about 10
Yeah.
feet, and you want to be respectful of that as
Sure.
well. So
yeah.
Sure.
there's some limited room, but it works.
So in any case, our engineering department has to approve whatever that design is.
Yes.
Okay,
And because it's more than 4 feet,
Yeah.
it has to be structural.
yeah,
Sure.
There's no
right.
issue with
Yeah.
that.
But the tree is staying, correct?
Well, the tree, the point is, I wish I could show you the picture, you could pick out of it. The tree actually,
tree is-
poured
Yeah.
a small wall to divert the water, and they poured it around the tree. The tree's
No,
in the middle of
literally.
it, crack in it.
Literally poured around the tree.
And so
Oh, okay.
The trunk coming out of the concrete.
Yeah, you would,
substantial tree, it's
Yeah,
not,
yeah.
yeah, you would think that
But the,
it's more important to have a solid wall.
well, it wasn't structural, so
Yeah.
it's only holding a wood fence.
Oh,
But in this case, it's gonna hold a concrete wall.
it's gotta be.
but the purpose is to keep the tree, hopefully, correct?
We'll do everything we can.
Well,
Right.
Tammy, I can tell you, that tree's gonna die. That tree's gotta go.
Hey, it might live, look how long it's lived
No,
now.
no, I know, but they gotta dig there to build a structural wall.
It might be a strong tree.
Maybe? Yeah.
And also, the tree though that Mr. Terry was talking about is on the southwest corner.
Oh, that's not the main tree. Oh, okay, I didn't know there were two we
No,
were talking
yeah.
about.
It's not the,
Yeah.
no, it's not the border.
But that's, so the one you're talking about, the bigger tree, that one's staying, correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mayor, if I could, just one note for
Sure.
record. In the beginning of Mr. Browner's conversation, he spoke of shrubs, 3-foot shrubs, Long Haul Johnson.
Yeah.
Just for point of clarification, that is only from our eastern property line to the first entrance. So it's a piece of about 350 foot.
Okay.
Because when you get farther west by there, we have grave sites that are relatively close to the property line.
Okay.
Which do not allow, we are doing the wrought iron fence the entire length of Hall Johnson Road.
Okay.
But the shrubs will only be from our eastern property line
Okay.
to the front entrance.
Okay.
Understand.
Gotcha. How many agreements do you have with the neighborhoods around you?
So we have an agreement with Stonecrest, which is the HOA
Right.
to, what was that,
South.
to our south?
Yep,
And then we now have the agreement in place with Broughton.
right.
Okay.
So Ben, did you say we're going to include those agreements in the ordinance? Okay.
Were all parties involved that were originally opposed to this, were they present in the HOA meetings with the Broughton?
Can I defer to
Oh my gosh.
Mrs. Russell? But just almost everyone who was originally opposed.
Okay,
Yeah. I remember.
okay, great.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Any more questions?
Wow. Yeah.
Oh.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
So I have not opened a public hearing yet.
No.
Public hearing is open. Anyone like this? Yeah, I know Kathy, you do. I got your card. Come on up. Oh, you wanted to speak on 7B. This is 7A. Does it matter to you? Okay.
Yeah, sure. Got it. Yeah, thank you.
Kathy Hadley, 204 Timberline Drive North, represent myself. I am very happy, I know Tammy probably worked very hard with Broughton, and so did our city manager. I'm old school, and Blue Bonnet's been there longer than I've been here, and I have loved ones in that cemetery, and it really bothers me that the newbies are wanting to change the appearance of Bluebonnet, and it bothers me greatly. They chose to live there at the bottom of the hill, and they're blaming the cemetery for their problems. I'm sorry, I'll calm down. I'm concerned. I don't think any of it, maybe a small portion of a tree or two of the cemetery should have to be responsible for any of this. They chose to buy at the bottom of the hill. This is my personal opinion. I'm glad they worked it all out, but I don't think it's right. I don't think it's fair, and I wish y'all would stand up for them. They've been here a lot longer than Broughton. I'm very upset about this. It's Bluebonnet's been a part of Colleyville from way back when, and it's being changed. And when loved ones go out there to see the loved ones that are in the cemetery, it's going to be different. And I'm not real happy about it, but I'm glad they worked it out, and Bluebonnet's happy with it.
Yeah.
I'll be quiet.
Yeah, so Mrs. Hadley, so this is in the new area that really, other than that very far north piece, there's nothing out there yet. So it's not changing any of the old stuff at all. This is all new.
Exactly, but I mean, that old piece, it was down there and it was just fine before.
Yeah.
Just having the openness of the whole cemetery was quite nice. Now we're gonna have a big old wall.
Yeah.
Maybe planting trees would be nice, but a wall? And flooding, that area flooded before Broughton was there. Anyway, down there at the bottom of the hills, you have floods.
Yeah.
I think it's more the developer's fault.
Well, I will say that we didn't talk a lot about it, but the way back in that new part, that land has been raised by the cemetery. And so they did change it, raise it up a lot.
Over the
create it,
years,
yeah,
because
yeah.
of Broughton, that's why. That's
Yeah,
why-
no, they did that so they could use that part differently. So, but I think in this case, I respect your opinion, but I think, as I always do, but I think Bluebonnet and the residents in the city has worked it out, so I think everybody's happy.
Everybody's happy.
yeah,
I'll
okay.
shut up and I'm
Yeah.
fine then.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's all the cards I have. Anyone else wish to speak? I do want to know from the residents, are you good?
Mindy Russell, 1805 Camden Green,
Okay.
and I cannot say enough good about Mr. DeKay here and also Mr. Husband for working with the residents. It's been a long process, and but I feel like all of my neighbors, I've touched base with each one, and we are at peace with that the land won't be elevated, with the way the drainage is going to be, and the 8-foot masonry wall, which, if you look at the property, it is about where the silt fence is at now, so it's really at the very side edge, and it gives the neighbors some privacy, but also with the adding the green. A couple of clarifications, and I did send Mr. DeKay an email, was the color of the masonry wall. You know, to have something that's white or gray would just stick out to us, so if it could be in more the earth tones, the reds and the browns, something that will be more subtle against the greenery, that would work. And then the trees, if they could be an evergreen, so that we don't lose the purpose of the privacy. And then the last thing is just that Mr. Husband and the cemetery would continue to work with us. You know, if they come up against an issue, knowing that we have been, I think, very reasonable to work with, and that we're willing to work with them and see this project through, and it'll be beneficial to all.
Great, very good. Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Sure.
So it's Jim Taylor, so I'm at 1821 Grosvenor Green. So I'm the president of the Broughton HOA. So I got involved in Bluebonnet last year, about June or so, when we kind of drafted the agreement. So at first there was a lot of conceptual stuff and, you know, things that sounded good academically, but I think really over the last 3-4 months with Mr. DeKay here, I think we've made a lot of really good progress, especially with Patrick Husband back there. So I'm pleased as an HOA president, because I feel like we've really addressed the needs of the homeowners most impacted by that area. So I'm pleased that we're finally getting to a resolution that's really win-win for everybody, so.
Very good.
So I just wanted to go on record and,
Okay, good. I'm glad you did. Thank you.
all right.
Anyone else wish to speak? I see no one indicating that, so I'm going to close the public hearing. Public hearing is closed. So, great discussion. I think it was great work by everybody. I appreciate the staff and residents in Bluebonnet. This is the right kind of outcome to have when everybody's happy with it, which has not always happened. Sometimes nobody's happy, but you got to compromise.
Sure.
So, here's what I've heard as we've talked. So there's a couple of agreements with Broughton, one with Broughton and one with Stonecrest, and so we're going to include those agreements into this ordinance, so that documents it. You talked about split-face masonry wall. You talked about the color. You are concerned about hearth tone colors, so we need to, and I didn't hear any disagreement, so we need to, I'm reading this off because these are the things that we need to either have in the ordinance or comment on. The cemetery is going to maintain the space within on the cemetery property. Cemetery is going to maintain it, including irrigation. There's requests for trees to be evergreen. Any problem with that? Okay. So there was one, and the existing mausoleum that's out there now that's not used will be moved out of the 100-foot area. You made a comment about a maximum height of less than 25 feet. Anything outside, there's nothing in the 100-foot setback outside the 100-foot setback less than 25. We really didn't talk about that. Anybody have an issue with that? Go ahead. We can't, it doesn't, we hear you and it doesn't record if you don't come to the mic.
I think the question would be with the neighbors
Yeah.
across from Hall Johnson, because, and I was trying to go to pull up the minutes from the March 3rd meeting, but I couldn't see them online. But I know that there was discussion that was brought up by those neighbors, so they might want to just clarify with them.
Yeah.
Because 25 feet, that neighbor that's on this side of Hall Johnson, that's what she's going to see, looking straight out her backyard, those homes that face it.
Yeah.
So that would be my only concern with having a height limit that high.
Yeah. Okay. But from y'all's perspective, Broughton's perspective,
I mean, if it's going to be in, I mean, I will see it from my second-story window if
Yeah.
it's that high, but,
Yeah.
so I don't know if maybe something could be more reasonable, like 15 or 20, but I'm going to leave it. They've worked with us, so I think we can come to an agreement.
okay. Because I think the 100-foot is on the other side of whatever road they put in, from y'all's perspective.
Yeah, so the
And-
100-foot is along the eastern side.
Right,
north,
and that
then
100
on
feet goes up to the edge of the new road that's going to go in there.
Right?
Yeah, it's actually on there, on the exhibit.
Yeah,
It actually goes up to the road.
yeah, right,
Yeah, now by Mindy's house, it actually goes past the
yeah,
cul-de-sac.
right,
But there it is.
yeah.
But part of the, I talked with Mr.
Cheatham?
Adam
Uh-huh.
from the subdivision to the south, and they were originally concerned about, that's where the 100-foot came from Hall Johnson. That was their concern. So
Right.
I can follow up again with him.
Yeah.
That's going to be part of their agreement. That was where the wall and the lower fence came out of Hall Johnson. We talked to them about that. But the 100-foot does exactly get you to the new road,
Yeah.
which is the new elevation, and in the case of the north end, get you past the
Yeah.
cul-de-sac.
Yeah,
I just know that there was discussion, and again, I was trying to go back to the minutes, but I couldn't see it online.
Yeah.
But I know that there was discussion about that height with
Okay.
them.
Okay.
okay, so did I miss anything in what I listed?
Just the conditions that we're going to have in the engineering is related to the drainage swale and how the drainage swale would continue throughout as was provided in the exhibits.
Yes,
And then would obviously provide the connection to the south and to the east.
right,
We need to
Right.
see an exhibit before we vote, right?
Different than the exhibit.
Right.
yeah.
We need a
So-
new exhibit.
All right, so let's go. So we had a great discussion. I think everybody's in alignment. Do we put this off and vote on it until that happens? Or do,
I mean, you could vote tonight, but
I'd rather see the exhibit.
you'd be adding a lot of conditions, easier to have exhibits.
okay,
You you know,
Yeah.
the conversation with Mr. Husband was that likely tonight, we talk about the issues.
Yeah.
And then we actually take action next week when the exhibits are
Yeah,
done.
and I'm with George, because I'd prefer to, we've got things listed, we got exhibits, I'd really like that pinned down before we vote, so when we vote, we know what we're voting on.
Just have everything listed.
Yeah,
That was also what was represented
Yeah.
likely to
Yeah.
to the resident scenario.
Okay.
Shared with them, so.
Yeah.
For all involved, I think that was. appropriate.
okay. So what'll happen is, we'll retable this tonight and bring it back and vote next time, assuming those are prepared by then. That, agreed?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Okay. So what we're talking, so we have 7B, which is special use for, the special use part of this. And some of these, it's interesting, between these two ordinances, we'll have to decide all of this stuff goes in which one.
Yeah, and all of the conditions should go in 7B
Yeah.
because the 7A is zoning.
Yes.
Mhm.
Contract issues in zoning. But 7B, because it's a special use permit, you can add any conditions.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a chicken and the egg. You really approve the zoning first.
Yeah.
And so you want to make sure all your conditions are in 7B before you approve 7A.
Yep.
And that's why I think it's appropriate to
Do them together.
have that conversation, make sure everything's
Yeah.
good before you do either one.
Right.
Right.
Should we switch?
Well, technically, yeah,
I-
I mean, you
You
probably
need to do the
should
zoning first, okay, that's fine.
But it's okay
Well,
to have
what-
a conversation.
Yeah, what we'll do, we'll talk about both of them.
Good.
And be ready to vote on both at the same time. So we're
Yeah.
not voted before we know what the answers are.
Good. Yep. That sounds good.
Now, so, I actually had a public hearing on 7A, but we don't really need to talk about 7B
No.
tonight.
No.
So, but we brought them both off the table, so I propose somebody moves to retable, both of those ordinances for tonight.
I move that we retable ordinances O20-211 and O20-2112.
I'll
Okay.
second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Dodson to retable both of these ordinances, and a second by Councilmember Rigney, I think. Okay. Do we vote electronically, Christine, or do you want me to do it manually?
We already did.
Huh?
It's up.
Okay, we're good? That's table a motion, a motion to table? Okay. And that motion's approved, so both of these ordinances are retabled with the expectation that we will bring them up again next time and be prepared to vote on both. Very good.
It's 10 o'clock. You want a break?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, George. We're going to take a recess for 10 minutes. I was going to do that anyway.
That was just sent to me. Oh. The D found it just now.